Alex, that's your cue. Okay, yeah, the meeting called to order, 9:08. Before we get started, I'd like to open up with a prayer. I apologize for if I mispronounce any words here. So, Uk Shaltehigus, Cheche Ta Shet Higus Teen Thok, Chichum Tums Tin Thok, Chi Ha Ti Shot Higus Ta Jeju Jitum X Tumuk Tums Jaja Ikni Uk Shate Gugus X Nums. In English, that's O our Creator, we thank our Creator for this good day. Pray for us on this good day. Thank you, Creator, for the land you have created for us all. Watch over all of our relatives coming from our Creator, all my relations. Thank you. I apologize for pronunciation. I'll practice every day. Moving on to our agenda. Just seeing if there's any additions. I've got to see if there's any additions going around the table.
I just want a quick meeting invites or calendar invites, and I don't even know if it requires an agenda item, but we just need to get those out right away, because I'm finding, like, just looking through the minutes, I found, oh yeah, the 24th we've got the org chart thing. Like I don't know, maybe we just need to adopt like a practice. Either those and it's partially my fault. I've been guilty of just being too reliant on the technology. So I don't know if we want to have a discussion about that, or just kind of make sure we get the ICWG org chart meeting invites and other stuff. Just like kind of once we set it, it's out. Mm-hmm. That's what anyway.
So under admin, I guess that'd be action items after meetings you're talking about, like, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Larry, I've seen your hand up.
Morning, everybody. Sorry.
Morning. Rod. You're on mute.
Larry didn't have anything? Oh, maybe he was just saying good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. I've got a few. They're mostly small. So under community services, just an update on security measures. And if you think I've put these in the wrong places, please tell me. Under culture, the Powell River street names. Also under culture, human rights code and indigenous identity. I'll skip that one. Don't have to do that. Under housing restoration program, ask. And lastly, under treaty implementation, maybe the 5-year anniversary.
That housing restoration one, Rod, I think it's in camera, is it not?
If you want it in camera, I've taken the names off the list, but it can go in camera, sure. Whatever you think.
Well, yeah, I mean, if there's no names, it's fine. Even if it's addresses, like, yeah, I think we should go in camera. It's just,
okay.
Yeah.
Sure. We'll scratch that for in camera. I'm going around the table again. Any more additions? Seeing none, looking for someone to adopt February 17th minutes. Let's make moves. Looking for seconder.
You mean the agenda? Sorry.
Yeah, adopting the agenda.
Okay.
Or are you adding?
So moved.
Okay. Melissa moves. Looking for seconder.
Oh, well. can't have a meeting, I guess.
Yeah,
No seconder?
there we go. Lori, all in favor?
Right.
Agenda passed. Okay, looking at the agenda and looking around the table, is there any disclosure of any conflict of interest in any agenda items? Looking around, seeing none. Moving on. Let's move on to adoption of adoption of the minutes. I see February 3rd. And is there a
Typo.
January minutes that we missed as
Should be
well?
February 3rd, yeah.
Okay.
No, it's just a typo, it looks like.
Okay, February 3rd minutes is in the package. Have a review and if there's any edits. Going around the table, is there any edits so far? Any comments?
A comment maybe.
Yep.
Oh, I don't know if animal control regulation is on the agenda today. Is it? I don't think so.
No, it's not.
But I see in the minutes we said, we circulated that regulation and asked people to provide feedback on it today. So, I mean, I've gone through it and I sent my comments to Murray already. That was before our last ledge meeting, but so I don't know. I'm satisfied with where it's at, but I don't know if we need to table it one more time until March. What do you think? And I guess
I thought we were going to be passing that today.
we have a law. We can't really pass the regulation until the law is enacted, right? So
Yeah.
So I guess it's just going to be.
If we pass the regulation and have it become enacted on a certain date?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, that can happen.
Yeah. It can. Yeah, we can kind of. Yeah, I guess we could kind of operate like it's enforced, and then. But if it's challenged, we wouldn't have much of a basis to stand on. But we could say, it's enacted and then comes into force when the law, community safety law is enacted. I think I heard somebody else trying to jump in.
I wasn't trying to jump in, but you can definitely pass it with an enactment date, specified as after the law is passed. That's fine, but I'd be leery about trying to actually use it though when it's not real yet. I don't know. I don't think that would be a good idea personally.
so maybe we could table it to the next meeting, which is just a couple weeks away, and then also schedule a ledge meeting to do the second readings and third readings of the law.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with passing it today, but I don't know where everybody else is at with it.
Well, maybe suggest giving it a couple more weeks then. But encourage people to have a read and make sure it's on the next agenda. How's that, John?
Sounds good. We'll have it both past next meeting and have it enacted right away.
And so then we should call the ledge meeting in this meeting, right?
That's correct.
I can do that now. I can make a motion to, but was kind of out of line in the agenda, but I can make a motion to call the Legislative Assembly for March 3rd, I think it is our next meeting.
Okay, looking for a seconder for
I'll second that.
second. All in favor?
You have to go back. Like, I'm
Just
just,
amend the agenda, I bet.
yeah. So,
So we can put this under other, I guess.
Sure.
That's if the mover and seconder are fine with it.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Sounds good. So we have a mover and seconder. All in favor?
right.
Okay. Ledge meeting called in 2 weeks.
So the ledge meeting is for the community safety law second reading or something? Because like the executive passes the regulations, right?
Second and third reading, I believe, isn't it? Or,
Yeah. Second and third reading. Okay.
So that way we can have it all in force that day.
Cool.
If we pass the second and third reading of the law and council approves the regulation.
Mhm.
So we'll want to have the legislative meeting before the council meeting so that the law exists before the regulations passed. That'd be my suggestion.
Okay.
And if anybody needs printed copies of it, just we can make sure everybody
So,
has.
and can we have, I don't know what the notice period is and such like that with laws, like, can we, I just don't have it memorized, but there must be something, right, where, you know, we post the version of it for public comment and such.
Mm-hmm.
So that's got to be done in the interim. I don't know if 2 weeks is enough. To be honest, it might be longer.
I think it's a bit longer.
Yeah, I'd have to look that up.
We could do it just a second reading on our next meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Will we be able to post this on the website in the interim, like between the second and third reading? Okay, we should do that.
We should put it up there.
Yeah.
Put the clean version up.
Yeah, we should do that right away.
And the regulation as well too, just
yeah. And then we were, remember in our fireside chat thing, leadership chat, we talked about presenting that law at that time, which is we've got it scheduled for the 18th of March. So that would be, yeah, after even, so we'll have executive on the 3rd of March and then again on the 17th of March. And then the 18th is when we have our next kind of community information chat thing. So
that's the day after the 17th meeting. That's perfect timing.
Yeah. It's, I guess I'm wondering, do we want to have that? Do we want some time between there? So I guess by the third reading would take place probably the first meeting of April or something.
Yeah, I think so.
For the law. So maybe we should, you know, whatever the notice period is, we can say we intend to have our third reading on April the
7th or the 21st.
Right.
Probably safer to say the 21st. We can aim for the 7th, but I think
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, that's better. And for the law, like, do we want Murray to be like speaking to this thing on our leadership chat? Like, that'll be the real kind of presentation of the community in this thing. And people might have watched the live stream, but perhaps not, when we went through it with Ledge.
If Murray could fit us in, that'd be great to have him there.
Dylan, do you want me to check on his availability, or do you want to
Sure.
reach out?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
So can we run through the next steps on this? So we're going to do a second reading on March 3rd. And we're also, for the law as legislature, we're going to pass the animal control regulation as executive to come in force when the law is passed on April 21st. After the third reading, we'll post the version of the law and the regulation on the website and post notice that this law is going through the readings for legislature and intend to pass it on the 21st of April.
Then take the comments in after that, I guess.
Yeah, right. And then we'll see, we'll try to get Murray, or we'll check with Murray to see if he's available to do an overview of the law and the regulation at our next leadership chat meeting on the 18th of March.
Sounds good.
Right? Okay. We were still on our minute review.
February 3rd.
There was an action to draft a letter of support for Denise to pass along. Was that assigned to Denise, or is that somebody else taking that on for that styrofoam ban?
That was done.
Oh, it was? Okay, great.
Yep.
I was wondering at the end of our meetings, we should have like a summary of the action items just to like follow up at the beginning of each meeting. We should kind of checklist, make sure stuff's kind of have something in a formal process.
That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a couple of the boards I've been on, they have them kind of set at the very end, kind of as a summary. Like, they've got all the minutes, the actions are there, but then they're kind of summarized at the end. These are all the action items.
Yeah, we should take that format on for sure.
Or we could put them at the top, well, whatever you like. It's but it is good to make sure they're really identified. Yeah.
And you're talking about doing that within the minutes, right?
Yeah.
Like either at the start or the end. Yeah.
That's what I've seen. That's been effective. I don't know.
Yeah. I've seen it too. It is effective.
Okay, just going around the table. Is there any more comments or questions on the February 3rd minutes? If not, looking for a mover, seconder.
Oh, did somebody move?
Oh, no.
I'll move.
Lori seconds. All in favor? February 3rd minutes passed. Looking, there's no presentation, so that's great. Moving on to new business.
We might finish by dinner time today.
Maybe.
Our last meeting was 9.5 hours. Okay, number one, 2020-2021 Nation Amendment. I'm guessing this is executive order 0554. This is Losa's agenda item. Amendment. 2021.
Oh, so this is a funding agreement.
Okay, funding agreement, amendment.
Funding agreement, and it is, I mean, they call it amendments. So this is for 44,000, and it's for sanitary servicing to Powell River. Yeah, so we just have to agree to receive the money, and then we will return it back to INUC. So it's in your packages.
Okay, we're gonna have a peek in their package.
It's part of the sewer project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, definitely we're gonna, I think, accept this. I just was wondering if there's any like specific purpose for it besides, you know, that big project. Like it's just for an additional payment to cover the design costs and such.
Yeah, it's a piece of the design. I forget which part they call it, but yeah, it's to do with design, absolutely.
So I will move to accept.
Dylan moves, looking for a seconder. Lori, all in favor?
All right.
Okay, motion passed. Moving on to number 2, Theodosia shared decision making. Eric?
So I don't know if you got the email. Eric said he had an emergency and he's going to be late.
Oh, okay, yep. Okay, well.
Oh, I have a little bit about that.
Yep, Lori.
We had a presentation from Mer, Stefan Virtue, and Nadinska, and Oliver Dan. They attended my referrals meeting. So once a month, I'm going to have a half day on referrals, and they attended last week, and we're just, it was like a reasonable opportunity agreement, kind of revitalization subject. Yeah, so Stefan has kind of not retired, but he's been shuffled up north. So he's been taken off our kind of relationship with BC, and Oliver Dan is his replacement. I think we're talking about renaming the ROA to something that reflects like the true nature of it, because it's just, I don't know, there's just no connection there, we feel. And we're talking about, yeah, you know, like everything to do with, you know, the archaeology breaches, funding, we just kind of want to, we're working towards building like an engagement framework, like an administrative decisions, operational decisions, the decisions that BC has to make, and then how we get the referrals. We kind of want to do like a little bit of like categories and levels. And so we're working on that, and just to kind of nail down a little bit more, like what truly reflects how we're doing referrals, because the trigger is 100 hectares. That's it. So, but Western and other forest licenses are doing information sharing, and they're being very courteous and respectful, and they're sending us all their block information. We're doing walkthroughs for cutting permits, road permits, and yeah, so industry is doing more than our trigger 100 hectares, like things that are under 100 hectares. So yeah, we're just kind of we might be revising that agreement to reflect truly what's going on.
Good.
So it's very interesting.
Larry, that maybe in your house post update, you just update Eric on it or something, right? Because
yeah,
for his benefit, it seems that he has some questions about it, and then we can maybe chat about it then. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just very excited about it.
Yeah.
Thanks for the update, Lori.
Yeah.
Moving on, drug testing, LOSA.
Sorry, just had to unmute. So I think the nation may have reviewed the idea of drug testing for staff and elected officials. So I wanted to put a motion on the table today to request that staff provide a report of some of our options and provide us information on all the variables of implementing this type of program. The drugs will never go away from our nation, and I've heard it repeatedly said that we will never get rid of them. And although this may be true, I think this is a good step towards a bigger plan of prevention for our youth for using drugs, and also to support those battling addictions, and also to support some of our staff who are doing great work with harm reduction. And so I think it's something worth exploring, and I know it'll take a while to get something like that together, because I know there's costs and there's, the resources to be able to pull something like that off. But I just wanted to put it on the table today and see what the rest of the group thinks about that. So I can make a motion just to get to discussion, if that's okay. I just like to make a motion to request that staff provide a report to Executive Council on implementing a drug testing program for staff and elected officials.
Okay, we have a mover, LOSA, and we have a seconder, Lori, to get us into discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly curious about this, and I support the motion. I will support the motion, and we'll look forward to getting kind of the scan. Oh, maybe I'll just wait for Eric to get his audio going while I'm yapping. Do you want to update on there?
Sure, Eric. We're just motions on the table. LOSA just made a motion about drug testing and some of the comments made from the community, wanting staff and leadership to live by example and kind of looking into legalities. LOSA made a motion, Lori seconded it, and we're just in a discussion portion of that right now.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so I was just saying that, I look forward to hearing kind of what the analysis is as to what our options are. And I think, I think the testing could be a part of, like you said, LOSA, our strategy. And if it's there, it might, make people think twice about, what they're doing, right? And that there's support there. It might be the decision point, or a big factor in people's decision to get treatment or get help, or if they know that their job could be at risk, and if they have a problem. Or anyway, I think it's something that will help. It's not supposed to be something that is going to
That's right.
target people, and it's so. Let's. I support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan.
I agree. Like, we have, several programs, and, we have a gym that's, we could open up for youth sports and recreation. So we have some mechanisms on our side. We have existing youth programs and family programs, that we can kind of make one of the objectives of those programs to towards wellness and youth and families. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Any more comments, questions?
I can just say that I support it as well, and I think it's part of a pretty healthy and robust occupational health and safety strategy for the nation. When you have people that are dealing with at-risk populations and families, and you have people working with equipment and machinery. I think it would just set a really good example for staff and leadership to go down that road and to cover our butt as well, because as leaders right now, we are liable for those staff if they do get injured or hurt on the job, and we need to ensure that our staff are as safe as possible working in their roles. So I also support it.
Rod?
Yeah, it shouldn't be too difficult to do a report because I looked into this a couple of years ago. So I already have quite a bit of the background on it. And I also did a course related to this about 3 years ago. So, but there are some roadblocks, some civil liberties roadblocks. As Eric mentioned, with people operating equipment and so on, it's no problem. With people who aren't in that category, what I ended up finding was that you could do it, but it had to be voluntary, and you couldn't do random ones for like counselors or admin staff. But for people who are in operating anything dangerous, you could. So just as a heads up, that's what I found last time, and I'll look into it again. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Rob.
I think it's a great idea, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Any more comments, questions? Gloria?
Yeah, I would support this motion also. I think it'll be very good for the community to see that we are taking action as leaders. I know it is a struggle, as Losa said, that with the drug dealing that's going on in this community is they are hard to get rid of, but maybe one day we may get rid of them all. Maybe that'll be our goal. Because it does start off with our youth. Starts off with our youth, and then it goes, and then we all have our own choices in life, right? But it's just not good when it's so simple to get. It's like here, it's like up the road, down the road, or other side of the reserve, whatever. It's like it's there. It's so easy to go get drugs around here, and there's far too many drug dealers. Also, it's sad, and I'm sure it's not just in this community. I'm sure it's in Paul River too, but I would like to have this done too.
Thank you, Gloria. Larry?
Just a comment. I went through drug testing myself with my previous company in down the big city every year. And sometimes they have random testing as well. So you might have one test scheduled for this week, and your next one is a couple of months, 6 months down the road. But all of a sudden they'll throw one in next week, just to keep you on your toes. Are we just talking about staff or all the entities? Is another question. I'll support this program too as well.
I believe we're looking at it straight across the board.
Okay. That's my comment. Thanks.
Any more comments, questions?
Yeah, I'm in favor of this this motion going forward. I think it falls under community safety. It's a good objective, and I totally support it.
Thank you, Tyrone. Going around the table again. Any more comments, questions?
Question.
All in favor? Motion passed. Thank you, Losa, and I thank leadership for addressing this issue. Moving on, moving back. Theodosia shared decision making. Eric, you had this on the agenda?
Yeah, so the Theodosia shared decision-making agreement was discussed over many years leading into the treaty negotiations. And we had the Theodosia Stewardship Roundtable struck, which was a group that was formed and led by the Tla'amin Nation. I was the chair, and Chief Clint Williams was a participant along with Denise Smith. And we had members from DFO, the Provincial Ministry of Environment of the day, and many other stakeholders that had a stake within the Theodosia watershed. Brookfield Energy was there as well. So that decision-making agreement was looked at about 4 years prior to us signing the treaty, so about 2010-ish. And it was negotiated that we would strike a shared decision-making agreement for the entire watershed, and that we would co-manage that watershed and have decision-making authority that was equal to the province and the federal governments. And it seemed like once we initialed the treaty, the funding stopped for the roundtable, and the nation decided not to continue on with that Theodosia roundtable anymore. And it seemed like once that happened, the agreement ended up being watered down quite significantly to a resource management agreement. And there's all this different wording that I've heard of, but it always comes back to what is going on with that Theodosia stewardship and what is going on with the shared decision-making agreement. So there was a number of models that I had researched for shared decision-making while I was working for the Treaty Society. And I'm just wondering, how do we revive that, and how do we put the pressure on to get that work going again? Because since the treaty came into effect, we've had so much logging going on up there, and it's a large private piece of land that's owned by a foreign company out of the United States that owns all of the land surrounding our nation lands up there, and now it borders our treaty lands. And there's been significant impacts to the fishery up there. So when we're looking at chum stocks and coho stocks for Theodosia, the numbers seem to be declining, and we have an opportunity to make things right up there and try and create some better management practices on private forestry operations through the shared decision-making agreement. So it just came up again about a week or two ago, and I think it's something that we need to look at seriously as an executive council in pressuring the province and the feds to come back to the table and start renegotiating what this shared decision-making model will look like. And DFO has a number of processes through West Coast Aquaculture, I believe it is, for these roundtables. And there is some funding available to strike some roundtables again. So basically just wanting to know where the rest of executive is at. I know we've talked about it before, but I think we need to make some sort of concrete step or some sort of motion to trigger the lands department to start working on this again and bring people back to the table to reopen the discussion.
Well, I think now that we have a half day set for referrals and a half day set for Natural Resources Committee, I think we can have it as a standing item in our NRCs in the afternoon. And last Wednesday, we did have Flynn, Rowe, and Murr come present to us at our meeting. And I know it wouldn't be a problem to ask them to join us every month to get this on track, because days go by fast and then meetings, get pushed off. So, and then with Stefan stepping back and getting reassigned to up north, the Up North First Nations, and we have Oliver Dan, we have kind of a fresh, we have a new person in the relationship with us. And last term, we did approach, what's that called? Merlin Ring, the foreign company that owns that private forestry, above our, the height of land above our land in Theo. And we asked if we bought it, how much would it be? And they said 30 million. So we did try, we just kept hitting hard walls and then just kept getting pushed aside because, it wasn't going in our favor.
Yeah, we tried that pre-treaty as well to pitch, and it just was overvalued. I know the province tried to buy the road that goes, I believe it's 2.25 all the way up to 10K. We tried to buy that road off them as well, so we had access to the farm property to do our fishery stock assessments. So this is the kind of stuff that the roundtable was doing, and they were doing phenomenal work. But it came as a shock that as soon as we initialed the treaty, the funding was pulled for it. So I think that would be a good start. Is maybe use the Natural Resource Committee as the governing body, or the roundtable experience, where they can pull in those other stakeholders and try and get some action going on this, because it's devastational looking at how much we've studied Theodosia since that landslide, how much it's impacted our fisheries. And that was back in the 1990s, and there still hasn't been really anything done to mitigate the logging practices on the private lands up there that are causing some significant issues for those salmon. And looking at the water flows that we have coming from the diversion up there as well, that's always been an issue. So Brookfield's taking the water when we need the water for fish. So we need to start really looking at, if our chum are going to be extinct in the next 20 years, I don't think we can really take any more time to try and sort things out. We kind of got to act on it immediately. So anyways, I was just trying to see where, get the temperature and try and figure out, who is the body that we can task with taking this back on again. And would you see that as the Natural Resource Committee?
Yeah, I could do that. I could send out the email invite, because our next one's scheduled for March 10th. Yeah, was there action items? Rod, were you at the meeting last week?
No, I wasn't. I was not.
I could send out the initial. Okay, yeah, so I can send out the meeting invite and put that as an agenda item to Mer and Flinro. And yeah, go ahead.
I can almost see the new fisheries technician or fisheries biologist working alongside with a referrals manager as well, kind of being the on ground looking after this as well.
Yeah, and our rights and title department, I mean, this is 100% about the rights and title in the area, and how, we should have a say and a decision-making matrix or strategy, just so that there isn't all this stuff happening under our nose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. Rod, do you have a comment?
I think Dylan is first.
Okay, Dylan.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I think we need somebody to do the work, right? Like rights and title department, that would be like fall squarely within that. But we need somebody to do the technical work to describe what we want. What level of decision making do we want in, as it relates to fisheries, as it relates to forestry, land management, like the whole gamut. Like we actually just need to spell out what we're asking for, what we're demanding, and table it and say, this is our position. Come on. And like I think the timing is good for that, because the province and Canada are enacting, like, first of all, the timing is good that BC and Canada finally kind of got the idea that this is what they need to be doing. And that kind of gives us a better chance to actually, negotiate what we, set out in the treaty, right? Like they just obviously weren't willing to kind of live up to their end of the bargain back then, as Eric was saying, but now they've got this UNDRIP or, DRIPA shared decision-making legislation that they now have the kind of policy backing internally to do this work. So that part's good. And we should kind of use that definitely for Theodosia, and put that kind of language in the treaty to work and the way we want to do it. And then also apply it to the whole territory as best we can, because that watershed is a really important one, but we have the kind of opportunity to apply it territory wide as well through where BC has been trending. Like if you look at Seashell, that's what they have is kind of territory wide shared decision making on at these different tables. So let's kind of figure out what's the model we want to push for and kind of start advocating. But we just need the people or the person to champion this or do the work and I think as leadership, we can kind of push politically and, keep banging the table and work our angles. But, we need a worker be doing the work.
So when I look at the shared decision-making process, so co-management is more power and more authority definition of a shared decision-making. So I would like to go for co-management, but when you look at the shared decision-making process, a proponent puts in an application, submits all the information, environment, did they do early engagement with First Nations? They have to document and share all the email correspondence and all the information they gave to First Nations. So there's a First Nations component, environment component. Are they applying for a permit that's 10 years or 20 years? So all that information goes into the shared decision-making working group, the technicals, and then they go over everything. And then if there's information that's not there, or say there's a fish habitat downstream, there wasn't enough information on their streams, so then they send a question back to the proponent. Can you address this? You didn't address it very well. We want to know what is your plans for protecting water quality and fish values. Then they submit it, because it'll stall. The application will stall until that information comes in. And then when the technical group is satisfied that all the plans and the contingency plans is all good enough, then they write a recommendation to the board. So there's a shared decision-making board above the working group. And then that has provincial and First Nation as well. And then they talk about the recommendation that the technical group kind of filtered. And then if they approve it, then it goes to chief and council. And then chief and council will look at the board summary and the working group summary, and they'll say, yes, we approve, or we do not approve, or we oppose it. And then that decision gets submitted to the district manager. And then the district manager will be, if chief and council approve it, then he'll approve it. But if they don't approve it, then he'll seriously consider not approving it. So that's the process of shared decision making. I haven't worked on a co-management process yet, but I would like to see if the Modern Treaty Alliance can, or someone that's worked on co-management, to kind of share with us the process of how they go through projects and applications and permits, like provincial decision. So I think we need to look at the process and how much, how robust is it for us to decide which one we want.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry. Is there any more comments, questions?
Dylan pretty much covered off everything I wanted to say, other than just remember, it's not just BC for this, because salmon are federal, so CFO has to be involved as well. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, they were participating at the table fully with us, and they're willing to participate again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically all stakeholders. There's private forestry and commercial forestry. There was the ATV club. There was Flynn Row, stock assessment, fisheries. It was a whole gamut of folks at the table, all with the common goal of stewardship for the area, right? And I think that's kind of what we're looking for, is just better stewardship for the area versus just pillage something that's out of sight, out of mind. Our biologists documented 3 detrimental log jams in the river that stemmed right from the private property adjacent to the river. And, we were able to say, we'll come in and find the funding to pull those log jams apart. So, doing the post-impact analysis was really important, because you're now able to hold people accountable to what their logging practices were in the area. So I just think we need participation. We need more boots on the ground and more ability to hold people accountable when things go sideways. So either if it's a co-management agreement or a shared decision-making agreement, I think we just need to find what's gives us the most leverage to do the things we need to do to be the proper stewards in our territory and protect those resources, and not get hung up on the language or verbiage of it. Yeah.
So you're making a good point. Shared decision-making is before the work starts. This is looking at all the plans that they promised to uphold. And then there's the post. So we could have the shared decision making, but we can just add. We can add. It hasn't been added before, but we can be kind of the first ones to add post monitoring. You know, did you, let's do a water quality sample. Did you impact the water quality? So, but I don't know, that'd be hard. Well, you kind of need baseline information too, but I mean, there's enough studies out there. We could kind of get some baseline, but yeah, we should maybe consider, or don't forget, post monitoring.
Definitely. All right. If that's it, moving on to BMO mortgages update. Eric.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I'm just pulling this memo up here. So we had a couple of calls now with John Pereira at Bank of Montreal, and there is the opportunity. They are more than willing to work with us right now to provide more on-reserve mortgages, as we're seeing more people interested in building down here and capitalizing on the current building rates, as those have gone up by 30 or 40% over the last year and a half. The cost to build currently in the Paul River region on the low end is about $240 a square foot, and some places are coming in around $270, $280 a square foot. So the current cap amount for a builder's loan in Tla'amin is set at $300,000. which doesn't get you a very big house. And the facility authorization amount is currently set at $3 million. So what I'd like to do is increase the mortgage builder's loan amount up to $500,000 based on the $240 a square foot cost of building, which now will get you into maybe a 3-bed, 2-bath house, and increase the facility authorization amount up to $5 million. So I've sent a briefing note over to Davis McKenzie as the chair, and what I'd be looking for is either a resolution or an order to increase those amounts from 300 to 500 and 3 million to 5 million. And looking at the current delinquency rate for any mortgages that are being held by Bank of Montreal, there's about $1.1 million worth of mortgages currently through BMO. There has been zero delinquency rate right now. So everybody's been able to make all their payments, and there's been little to no risk on that file right now. So John is willing to do that, and I think just a resolution would likely work for him. Dylan, do you remember if you wanted a resolution or an order? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah. I think he said resolution would suffice.
Okay.
So I'm happy to make the motion or second it, whatever you like.
Okay, sure. Well, I'd like to make a motion to increase the cap amount for the on-reserve mortgage program to $500,000, and to increase the facility authorization amount with Bank of Montreal from $3 million to $5 million.
Thank you, Eric, for moving. Looking for a seconder.
Second it.
Dylan seconds. Any questions, comments?
Just maybe a reminder to folks that each of the people that want to use this program have to qualify on their own all the banks kind of lending program. So we will be, guaranteeing people under this program for a larger amount now, but they still have to qualify for that larger amount, right? So there's
it's 700 credit score, 700 or higher to qualify for a mortgage loan.
So that's good. I mean, it's good, like, and the rates are low, so it's good. But yeah, it also kind of people have to pay it back. So don't forget that, everybody. The rates are low, but you still have to pay it back, and there's no guarantee that the rate's going to stay this low throughout.
I'm working till I'm 68.
Yeah.
What is the rates for this again, Eric?
The current rates right now, I think we're 2.09 for the on reserve lending program. And I wish I could build on reserve because that's a phenomenal rate. And it's an open loan right now too. But those rates, of course, are subject to change, and that's for a new build. So you can't actually transfer a current mortgage over to get that rate. Some of the lower rates right now are about 2.98, I think. So if you wanted to transfer a current mortgage, you'd probably be around that rate, but the rates are really good right now.
Thank you. Rod?
And those rates also depend on what kind of mortgage you get, right? You can get
likely credit score and all that stuff. Yeah.
Because some rates are quite a bit lower than that right now. They're in the ones. But, if you get a fixed rate mortgage of 5 years, you're going to be looking at the kind of rate that Eric talked about. And if you go with a variable rate, you'll get a lower rate. But then if rates go up, your rates go up. So that's always a bit of a gamble. That's it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think talking to BMO too, like, we're not really locked into any single bank. And that's something that I've been really focusing on, is trying to make sure that we're keeping everybody honest and we're getting the best rates for our citizens. So I know Scotiabank has just come online with the new First Nations on reserve lending program, and that extends now to lessees as well. So hopefully that will work for Klahani folks. There is the Van City option. There's Royal Bank. So there's a number of banks that are interested in working with the nation right now. And I don't think we want to be tied into any single bank unless there's some phenomenal benefits for our citizens. And we kind of want to keep a competitive process so that people have options in the community. So even though we're doing this with Bank of Montreal, we're still looking at other options as well right now, where we don't have to pledge money dollar for dollar to secure those mortgages. We're basically securing securing those mortgages on signature, sort of thing, right?
And
Yep.
To that end, I was thinking just the other day of I wonder if we could get a mortgage broker willing to work with us, because then it opens up the whole market. But of course, there's the wrinkle of the land, but that would, mortgage brokers are great because the lender doesn't pay them, and they shop the market for you, and they don't care what bank it is. They just find the best rate and bring it to you. But I'm not sure that it would work because of the restricted fee simple. But anyway, just a thought.
Mm-hmm. In the future, I would like to see what we can do for our urban First Nations, what kind of support that we could provide in the area of finance to our city folk in the future, anyway.
Yeah. I think once we talked about like our own, setting up our own kind of banking function here, right? Like that might be something to help down there. I mean, the only thing that comes to mind is like help with a down payment, right? That's really the only thing we can do at this point. But we have to really have a look at that. Like what's going to actually help, because the prices are down, even here now are super high. And,
it's like a mortgage payment, the rent down there.
Yeah, but the down payments needed are like, 80 grand or something, right? So like, what do you?
I guess then there's a tax piece to that too, annual tax. Yeah, we'll have to take a good look at it, but it'd be great if we could move that far along.
Definitely. And the other thing I was mentioning that John John Pereira let Eric and I know is like, it could be like we could use this BMO program to free up the money we've got, you know, held up at First Credit Union. You know, if those people were you know, the people that have their financing through First Credit Union were wanting to or willing to move over, it would free up our cash that's being held there. So I think that just be aware of the timing of that and such. Like I think those folks will be coming up on their kind of mortgage renewal. It'll be about 5 years in the next year or so. I don't know. I don't know who's financed under there and the timing, but that would line up with kind of when that subdivision was built. I think most of the people on the Salish extension to the Gov House would be the people under that First Credit Union program. Just a heads up, you know.
Yeah, that would, again, we kind of need somebody to advocate and talk to those folks too. So again, I guess our new CFO would be that person to approach those folks who have those mortgages at First Credit Union and talk to them about maybe the process of switching over to BMO. And again, that would free up that $2 million, so we can then again leave that $2 million as a pledge at First Credit Union, and that frees up another $2 million for people to build in the community. So we'd now have a $7 million fund available to Tla'amin Nation citizens to build within the community. Which I think timing works out well if we can get the sewage project up and going and our water quantity is enough to, you know, provide another 12 homes down here. So I think we need to be proactive in providing those options. And I think we've got a number of gaps in our organizational chart right now, and we're trying to recruit and retain quality folks and hopefully our own folks to come back and fill these jobs. But housing is the issue. There's no housing available in town right now. So we need to really kind of figure out the chicken and the egg bit. And I think that addressing these housing building needs, having those lots available for people and the mortgages ready to go, I think will help us in the long run. So I like that idea of freeing that up.
Thank you, Eric. Is there any more comments or questions? If not, looking for all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Motion passed. The Nimook and flyer deliveries. This is Lisa's agenda item.
Oh, I think Rod just wanted to make sure that the table was comfortable with restarting the memo to be delivered in the nation. I think it'll start from March. It's scheduled. And also with flyers, we have an important one for health that's going to go out tomorrow. So we just
So actually
wanted
this
to give you the
discussion,
heads up and see if there was any strong objections.
I think council actually wanted the NEMLIT to go out because of people who don't have computers, but I just wanted to confirm that. And as Losa said, important flyers, not going to do all of them, but that's the intent, and obviously following strict protocols. So just wanted feedback on that before we start it fully.
Thank you, Lisa, for putting this on the agenda. I've been getting messages on Facebook and people approaching me as well, wanting to get hard copies of the Nimook as well. So yeah, going around the table if there's any objections.
One thing can I mention, like I said this before, the last term of executive council, to make things a little easier on our community members and our flyer delivery people with our neighbors and stuff like that. And it might fit in with the fire department as well, as to have these those what do you call it? How the regional district has a container on a metal post at the beginning of the driveway with the address on there. I don't know if I'm just throwing it out there, if that's feasible for us to do in a safe manner for delivery people and our community members as well.
It's actually something that was supposed to happen some time ago, so we should kickstart that again.
I think it'll be easier even for our first responders at nighttime to, you got a reflective address that you could actually see at the beginning of every driveway. That way you're not going into people's driveways. It's just at the beginning of everybody's driveway.
Yeah, I've sent that over to Rich for the reflective sign project. There is some funding through Indigenous Services 911 program right now to pay for those reflective address signs. So I think that could be a project that we could definitely take on. They're about $55 per house. That's for a post that gets hammered in at the end of the driveway with high-vis reflective numbering. But if we go with a mailbox, then maybe, the reflective signage just goes on that, but it still gets hammered into the driveway. So there is a way to find some funding for that, but I think the quote came in just under about $20,000 to make that happen. So it's not a lot of money, and it increases response time big time for the fire department down here. So I'd be 100% in supporting that, even if we didn't get the funding.
That's great, Eric. And I've still got the research I did on the mailbox things that I gave to Sean way back when. So they're those plastic, they're not round, they're square tubes. And you see them all over the place in the States, like in Northern Washington for newspapers. And I think they would work just perfectly. And then we could attach the reflective either to the box or to the post separately. So that's great news.
It's a great idea. Okay. Any more comments, questions?
I just wanted to say it'd be great if we could follow through with this, because when the delivery people go out, they sometimes have problems with the dogs. And I often hear the feedback from that. So, and also difficult driveways or whatever it is, the hindrances from them getting to the door or making it difficult for them, I think for safety wise too, it'd be great to get in place.
I'm actually on a mailing list. I get my name in the mail. I'm just wondering why and everybody else doesn't get theirs in the mail like that, in the mailbox. It would eliminate people going in other people's driveways, properties.
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking about the memo, John?
Yep, I used to get it in my mailbox every month.
But I see, but not recently.
Not recently, no.
Oh, okay. I thought Steve had been secretly printing a few.
just the Hagoose, yeah. No, just
okay.
It'd be safety. I get mine in the mailbox. Everyone else should too, because
that's a really good point.
Every house is tied to a mailbox down here, so.
Okay, I'll talk to Steve about that, and I think we could just expand the mailing list to include in-town people. I thought it was only people outside of Tishosum who got it in the mail. Okay, I'll work on that.
Perfect.
I get mine in the mail because I'm off reserve, I guess, on Klahani. But it'd be great if we had some sort of sign-up list so people can actually get that. There's a lot of other people that ask for the memo too. I've been approached by quite a few Klahani folks who actually want access to it too. So I know there's a cost associated with that. I don't know if we can figure that out through taxation and just every Klahani or every lessee gets it as well. But I've been approached in the last couple of months by a few of them interested in receiving that as well.
Well, and we have others that we've put on the mailing list who are not, like the city and the RD and Community Futures. So, and we haven't charged them for it.
Should have a subscription fee for them.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Action items. We kind of already discussed this a little bit. Some of the dialogue from there is putting the action items at the end of the minutes, just so we could reflect on them the next meeting. So I'm not sure if anyone else has any suggestions or ideas of following up on action items from our meetings moving forward.
Yeah, there needs. Oh, go ahead, Bill.
No, I was just going to be squeegee again with my meeting invites, at least for dates that we set. I don't know where that fell on the agenda. Sorry, I didn't take notes. Just not on the ball today, but that's just something we could, as a practice, like institute, is that, I don't know who would send it, if it's Rod, if it's Sheena, if it's Losa, whatever, like, let's just.
Well, usually
Hey?
it's usually the chair. Like if the committee has a chair, it's usually the chair who calls the meetings. Doesn't have to be. That's just sort of usually how it works. But not everything is a committee with a chair.
Mm-hmm. I think council secretary seems to me to be kind of that admin support that would fire that out. I don't know if she has access to that right now, but as a part of the job description or whatever, that, like, because I think the idea of the council secretary is to be at kind of all the committee meetings as well. Like, kind of, I don't know if that's the current practice, but taking notes and or tracking the minutes and then handling that sort of thing. But anyway.
Well, we can certainly do it that way.
Sounds good. I'm really reliant on the Outlook and really rely on when those meetings are posted.
Which reminds me, just what caught my eye was the meeting that on the 24th in the afternoon we had set for the org chart check-in, 24th at 2 p.m. So I popped that in my calendar now, but I hadn't before. And then I had a question about when we set the next ICWG meeting, which never went out, which I didn't pop in my calendar when we set that because I was like, does anybody have that?
I do, but I don't have it right in front of me. I'll check on it at lunchtime or something.
Okay.
All right. So there's nothing. Nothing more. I'll move on. Community services, security. This Rod.
Yeah, just a quick update that we have. I just got the contract actually. A contract for a company to start next Monday with a security guard in the building, just as a deterrent to any of the sort of inappropriate behavior that has happened over the last few weeks. So there's that, and Derek has also been working on a policy for the I forget what we're calling them, the information officers or whatever, who are going to be patrolling. So just wanted to give you a quick update that that's where that's at. So we should have a presence here in the building next Monday.
Awesome. Thank you, Rod. Who's the contracting company?
Castle Security.
They're the only ones locally.
Yeah, there's one other one, Paladin, but they're pretty much booked up with government stuff.
Okay. Great.
And is that, I remember we talked about this for the vaccine, right? And that, the risks around that. But is that something is this in addition or also for kind of disgruntled people in the community right now?
Yeah, the security guard at the building is not really related to the vaccine. The patrols or whatever you want to call them are related to the vaccine.
Yeah, the patrols are part of the safety plan that we have to have in place before FNHA will really consider sending the vaccine here. So you have to have a certain amount of, there's a toolkit that they sent out, and it's actually one of the things that the nation needs to have in place as part of our security plan for the vaccine is a secure and safe location that is guarded. So that's why we need to have those 24-hour patrols set up and patrolling the community. And I think there's the other purpose is to actually look at people in the community. Like our community is still closed to outsiders, but we have so many people coming in on the weekends and driving around, using our parks, partying at houses, that, this is why I've been wanting to have patrols set up since before Christmas, is, we keep dodging bullets every weekend, and the amount of activity that some of us see down here is really distressing. So I would see the patrols as reporting back to us on some of that activity that they see, and documenting that information for Janice so that we have some contact tracing available. So we've seen so-and-so's truck from another house partying at another house this weekend. So let's write that down. And if there's an outbreak, we know where that person's been and who they've been with, sort of thing.
Thanks. That's helpful. I just have one more question about this. So the one in the building at the Gov House is just going to be there. How long are we going to have this security guard there? Is that kind of a standing thing now? And is there been more issues than just the one individual who keeps coming and kind of?
Pretty much the one individual. And so the idea is it's on a trial basis. So we're doing it until near the end of March. So for about a month. And then reassess at that point what we want to do moving forward.
And this person is going to be not a Tla'amin person, obviously, right? There's an employee of this company, right? So like, I think if we were going to do it longer term, we should be training somebody from the community, right? Like, why would we pay somebody?
Yeah, I have really sort of mixed feelings about that. I mean, on the one hand, yes, we have got people who would be really good at it. And some of them might even already have training. I don't know. But if not, we can get them training. But of course, the flip side is that if you're a community member and dealing with a community member, there can be issues around that. So it's kind of preferable to have somebody who's from outside the community. But anyway, there's two sides to it, and I don't have the answer.
I think it's something we could, like, one of our people could handle, and with the support of this table. And I don't know. I think it should be something common.
There is a training program already in place for security. So due to all the COVID stuff going on, a lot of other nations have trained their own people to take on these patrols and how to take information, how to talk with the public. So many other nations that I've seen and participated on the EOC calls with from Indigenous Services Canada, they've taken that training. So it's like a 2-week training course, and they have their own people doing the patrols and the security. So that is available. I can do some digging and see if there's still training ongoing because I know that was paid for through ISC. And we do have quite a few trained people. I know Mike's got one of the higher levels of security training in the community. He did that for many years in Duncan. And we've got quite a few other people who have taken the training. So I would definitely support that. But I can take away looking into that training program and see if we can get some more people through it.
Well, and Eric, you also might want to talk to our Director of Community Services, who, just before coming here, he was operating a security training company.
Yeah, that'd be awesome if we could get the funding and he could somehow certify him. The trainer is in-house. Like if he's got a train the trainer certificate, that would be huge. Yeah, that'd be great.
It's very interesting. Yeah, it is 2 weeks, and I know they learn how to do like arm bars and everything. So yeah, it's kind of sounds fun. I might try it.
2 weeks sounds very short to me, but whatever.
Awesome. Okay. If there's nothing else, moving on to culture, street names.
So yeah, I sent out that email to 5 counselors yesterday. And so at this point, like basically just want to clarify, make sure that everybody understands what's going on. So the city is planning to, or Russell is trying to, have their bylaw altered so that there is inclusion. And, he mentions in his email that he would have a pool of names and we would supply some and whoever else would supply some that we all agree upon as being appropriate. But that's going to take a little while. And then they've got these 2 streets that they need to name now. And so he told us what they're thinking. And, at this point, he's just asking, are these offensive or can we move forward? And one of them, they only had one option. The other, they had several options. So the one that they had several options, if we have a preference, we could throw it at them. So that's all, because right now, they don't, according to their laws, they don't have to come to us, and they have specific, regulations in there about north-south is going to be of this nature, and east-west is going to be of that nature. So yeah, that was it. Just wanted to make sure everybody understood, and then you can comment as you see fit.
Thank you, Rod. I see Drew made some recommendations, and it looks good.
Can I say something about that?
Yep.
Yeah, I think anyway, I appreciate that they've, Russell's reached out to seek some feedback on this, right? Like they're being inclusive, and that's cool. As far as like what they came up with, none of those have any, to me, like mean anything to me. In fact, like I just, they're just whatever. I don't know how they came up with them, but for me, like I don't support any of them because they're meaningless to me. But the ones that Drew suggested, I think, would be preferable. I don't know if that's even on the table, but they do say that, given our bylaw currently speaks to roads running north-south in Westview are to be named after Canadian provincial or district names. And then they have some suggestions. So I don't know what a district name is, but a Tla'amin name is, to me, fits within that regional district, I guess, right? So I don't know. I would push back and say we'd like to have it a Tla'amin place name. And the ones that Drew mentioned, like they're, in my view, for that street, which is the top of old Edgehill School, those place names are for somewhere else, right? Like Ajumilk is for like Wellington Beach, Westview area. I guess this is close to Westview. T-Squad is for, kind of the Powell Lake townside area, I guess. And there's the Grief Point. And I put a suggestion forward that I like. I don't know if others like it or whatever, but I thought it would make sense for a name that was like the top of the hill, because like Kamana Street is way up there, Edge Hill, on top of where Glacier comes down. It's kind of steep. Ewus is the word that means top of the hill. So that would be my kind of idea to lob out there. But again, we don't know if the city is even willing to entertain that, or they're just going to pick one of the bunch that they've already kind of narrowed down. But from my point of view, there's no point in supporting any of those options or commenting, because they're all kind of meaningless to me. So I just offer that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, Dylan, too. And I think, talking to Drew, and my response to that email is that we need to start doing a place names exercise with our current elders and finding out some of those names of areas. Because I know even Cranberry was an area where our people hunted and obviously harvested cranberries. So we had a name for that. So a lot of people think our people were kind of within 500 feet of the tide line. So all of our place names are pretty tied to the coastal areas and none of the inland areas. But we did use those areas, and we likely have place names for those. So we need to go down that route of either trying to find those out again and documenting those. And if we don't, working with our elders to find something that's suitable. And I really like that top of the hill name that you suggested, and worked with Elsie on, because it's really fitting. It's easy to say, and that's the one thing I hear the most from the Mamachlas in town is, oh, it's just really hard to say, right? So I think our places had names for thousands of years, and we need to honor those and honor the ancestors. And I'm 100% on board with pushing back and saying that we're not on board with any of those suggestions, and put forth the suggestion that you had made.
That's the approach I'd like to take too, as well, too. Like push back and recommend the word that Dylan just recommended. Okay, any more comments or anything? Seeing none. The next item is, I can't read my chicken scratches here. Does it say right code or? Oh, Roger, unmute.
Losa, am I able to share screen right now? No. Oh,
Yes,
maybe
you are.
maybe I am. Okay. Is it up there?
Yep, here we go.
Okay, so this is the letter, and I don't know if you've seen it, John.
I haven't seen this now. Unless it's someone, no. Post.
So I can send it out to all of you if you like. I don't know if it's, I don't know how important it is, but it's appears to be a step in the right direction. And so they're asking if we want to be involved. I'll scroll down a little bit if that's okay. So yeah, this is where they say, this is from the Attorney General's office, wants to ensure we have ample opportunity to collaborate on this important initiative and welcome our feedback.
Is this like, what is the do you have any idea what the application of this
No, I don't.
Yeah,
I just got this yesterday. Had a quick read of it and thought I would just show it to you, and then I can, as I say, send it out to you all to look at. And I'm sure some of you will know more about what this is to do with than I do. Okay.
okay.
Sounds good.
So I will send it out.
Thank you, Rod. Moving on to economic development, EC Resolution 09/2021. Change of directors and officers of Tla'amin Holdings Incorporated, Tla'amin Timber Products, and Tla'amin Capital Assets, Inc.
So it's in your package, and this is all to do with the new boards. It's quite a long resolution. It's D7 in your packages if you have them available to you. So it's installing, Diana Lamont and Branda Louie and Marlene and Jordan Mitchell, and removing the people who are no longer directors from all the various entities within our ECDEV arm. And Losa, I'm guessing that Philip provided this.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. What was that?
But I'm guessing that Philip provided this, or somebody from ECDEV.
I think you asked Sheena to put it on the agenda.
Yeah, I think they sent it to me and I forwarded it to Sheena.
I have a clean copy of the resolution. Sorry, it didn't make it into the package.
Well, the resolution is in here. Did it change?
No, if it's there, then.
Well, it's a couple of pages. Would you like me to read through it?
Sure. Thank you, Rod.
Okay. And can you hear me like this?
Yes.
So it's not numbered yet, but it's an executive council resolution, or it's not numbered on this one, dated today. Change of directors and officers for Tla'amin Holdings, Inc., Tla'amin Timber Products Limited, and Tla'amin Capital Assets, Inc. Subject approval of the proposed changes in directors and officers of THI, TTPL, and TCAI. Tla'amin does hereby resolve that a quorum of Executive Council of the Tla'amin Nation met on the 17th of February 2021 Whereas one, Tla'amin Nation is the sole shareholder of TCA, PHI, TTPL, and TCAI, together the companies. And two, Tla'amin Nation has determined it in the best interests of companies to confirm and replace certain directors in accordance with the Tla'amin Nation Economic Development Law and the Economic Development Agreement between the Tla'amin Nation and its group of businesses dated April 5th, 2016. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Executive Council supports the following director and officer changes for the companies. 1. For Tla'amin Holdings, Inc., each effective as of November 27th, 2020, A. Leonard Maynard Harry and Arthur C. Mercer are to be removed as directors. B. Diana Lamont and Brandon Louis are to be appointed as directors. C. Marina Gallagher, Justin Bull, and Craig Galagos are to be confirmed as directors. Leonard Maynard Harry is to be removed from the offices of President and Chair. Diana Lamont is to be appointed to the office of President and Chair. And Marina Gallagher is to be confirmed as Vice President. 2. For Tla'amin Timber Products Limited, A. Roy Francis and Anthony Lee George are to be removed as directors effective October 17th, 2020. B. Marina Gallagher and Scott Craig Roberts are confirmed as directors. C. Marlene Christensen and Jordan Mitchell are appointed as directors effective January 11th, 2021. And D. Justin Bull is appointed as a director of the company effective February 1st, 2021. 3. For Tla'amin Capital Assets, Inc., A. Roy Francis and Anthony Lee George are to be removed as directors effective October 17th, 2020. B. Marina Gallagher and Scott Craig Roberts are confirmed as directors. C. Marlene Christensen and Jordan Mitchell are to be appointed as directors effective January 11th, 2021. And D. Diana Lamont is appointed as a director effective February 1st, 2021. 4. Ratcliffe and Company is to be directed to prepare the necessary documents and attend to filing these changes with the Registrar of Companies. And 5. Hagus John Hackett signing alone is authorized to execute and deliver the resolutions necessary to carry out the above changes approved by Tla'amin Nation. And there's minutes attached to it, detailing those changes being agreed to in their meeting.
Do we have a mover? Seconder? Okay, we're in discussion period. Any questions, comments on this resolution? Seeing none, all in favor?
All right.
And so, did Lori move?
Yes.
And who seconded? Please.
I believe Eric did.
Eric? Okay, thank you. That was a mouthful.
Thank you, Rod.
You're welcome.
Moving on to emergency services, fire hall. Eric Blaney, this is your agenda item.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so last meeting we discussed some of the changes we'd like to see to try and increase recruitment and retention at the hall, and received a email from Acting Chief Byron Harry about inclusion of the medical dental plan that we have for the nation, and wondering if the firefighters are part of that medical and dental plan, and if they aren't, can they be included in that? But I believe they do receive a T4A at the end of the year, so it's always been one of those, it's a volunteer department, but they're now paid on call members who do receive pay for their duties. So is it possible to add them into the current benefits plan that we have? So I told them I'd look into it, and with the absence of the CFO right now, bring it to the table to see if there's any input on that, and if there's any issues with that. I don't perceive there to be any, and I think we need to be looking at the best ways to support the hall right now with the increase in calls. The average call rate for the hall has been between 16 and 21 calls a year. Last year was exceptional in that there was 39 calls for service. With the severity of the calls and the high mortality rates within the community, there's a lot of benefits that should be extended with respects to mental health. And I think this would go a long way to ensure that anybody joining our department was going to be well looked after and part of that plan. Do you see any issues with that, Rod?
I don't. I certainly have no issues with it. But I'll have to talk to Great West Life because I'm not sure what their criteria is. They are, I mean, we do pay them when they go out, and I believe we do it through payroll. Did you say they get a T4A?
I believe it's a T4A.
Okay.
Yeah, it's either a T4 or a T4A. I can't remember what we've received.
If they're getting a T4 or a T4A, then I'm guessing, it is a guess, that it won't be a problem to put them on benefits. And I think it's a great idea. So I will talk to Great West Life or Many Nations or whatever about that. And we also talked last time about increasing their call-out time for their honoraria or their pay.
Yes, so looking at a 4-hour minimum and increasing the pay to $20 per hour.
Perfect.
But it would be a minimum, so it would be at $80 a call sort of thing that they would get instead of the $14.50, I think. Yeah. Okay,
so if they're paid in a way that Dan says, no, sorry, they can't be added because of this or that, then there might be an opportunity to, pay them the same amount, but in a different way so that they can get on the benefits. Because I'm totally in favor of doing that for them.
Yeah.
If council is. So yeah, I can take that as an action item.
Okay, and then I guess we can table the decision for the next meeting once you find out the details on that, and then we can make a motion.
Okay, and I'll come back with costs as well.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Okay. I guess moving on to health, the COVID vaccine update, Losa.
Thank you, Jesus. So each week, Nation Health staff meet with FNHA and BCH to continue work on the vaccination rollout plan. The Nation is going with a whole community approach, which is what FNHA is doing as well. But we actually have prioritized within that approach into 3 different tiers on how we're going to get everybody vaccinated. So tier 1 is Tla'amin elders, age 60 and over, and that is members and citizens residing in the village, in the community, and also in the Tla'amin regional district. Under tier 1 will also include immunocompromised, which is those with heart or lung diseases, transplants. Sorry.
Whoever's the host might want to put.
Yeah, I'm trying to mute here. Can I do it?
There you go.
Perfect. Sorry, it was throwing me off. So back to tier 1. So it's elders 60 and over, those with autoimmune heart or lung diseases, transplants, or medications such as immunosuppressants or treatments such as radiation therapy. So those will be included in tier 1, which is also day 1. And then on short call will be essential staff. So this will be our nurses, home care workers, and this is for the first day. Day 2 will be members 59 and under, and that's living in the community again, and also in the Tla'amin regional district. And we're just going to continue to work our way down with age. Also, tier 2 will be staff working in the community and for short calls. So this is like if somebody doesn't show up for at the end of the day, somebody hasn't shown up for their appointment or whatever. These are where we're going to fill in spots. Tier 3 is still again is going down by age, but this will also include First Nations, Indigenous people that live in the Cuthbert Regional District but are not Tla'amin members. There are 7 nurses that will be doing the immunizations on the 3 days. We could have potentially 10, and this includes our own nursing staff and nurses from BCH. Tla'amin Health did not receive the ancillary supplies that we needed from FNHA, so our staff, who are amazing, they ordered those supplies and we've already received it, and that expense will be reimbursed by FNHA. Day 1 of the 3-day clinic is near complete with bookings. We have, I believe it's almost 90 elders confirmed, with only 2 refusing the vaccination and 1's a maybe. So Janice has been working every day, calling them and booking people in. The nurses will break or have no bookings between noon and 1. And in that time, they will have lunch for like half an hour, and then they'll catch up and slide people into those spots who missed their appointment or were missed somehow on the list. I think we have to lobby for more vaccination doses. We only have 460, and I think if we start to do that now with FNHA, if there's another nearby nation who doesn't utilize their whole allotment, then we can ask to receive those doses, because we have a lot of urban members who still want to travel home. I know that we won't be able to do it right now, and I think we have to be clear with our messaging that everybody will receive the shot. FNHA and BCH keep saying that anybody who wants the vaccination will receive it, but it's just a matter of timing and when. So we have a meeting tomorrow night, Friday, with our team here to go back to the Salish Center and look at how we're going to be setting up so that early next week we will be set up and ready for when the vaccination arrives. And we still don't know when that will be. So that is our plan for now. Janice will be calling people. We're going to have a notice going out tomorrow, and it's actually going to be a thick notice. It'll be probably up to 10 pages, and it's going to be colorful. Probably the front page will be yellow so it stands out, and it'll be like a booklet. It's going to have all this information, but it'll have the number where you contact if you're interested in booking an appointment, and just all kinds of information that you'll need. And I think that's about it. Does anybody have any questions or strong objections to anything?
Very impressed with the numbers that are saying yes.
I just have a comment. I had a phone call doctor's appointment, and my doctor said, because I'm post-COVID and I still have, when I get cold, I get a sore throat. So I still have some symptoms, like post-COVID symptoms. So he said I should wait until summer because hopefully my symptoms will be completely gone by then. And that maybe there'll be some more research or findings related to this vaccine and post-COVID people taking the vaccine information. So I'm just sharing with you, I'm not going to take the vaccine. I'm going to wait a little bit. So I'm not sure if other post-COVID membership are going to do the same thing. And another thing that he shared was the vaccine is a protein, and it's identifies COVID and it fights COVID. So just a little bit about the vaccine itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. I guess moving on, non-insured health benefits, Losa.
Me again. So I wondered how we can start looking at providing the same kind of assistance we provide our members who have to travel. For example, if you have somebody who lives on the island, Port Alberni or something, and they have to travel to Nanaimo for a specialist appointment, how are we able to help them the same way we do with the NAHB benefits? And where do we start in addressing that and helping our urban members when they have to travel as well? Or are we in support? I think I have to work with health, but I think it's something really important that we have to look at. We have members out there who still have to travel to their specialist appointments as well.
Have you had any conversations with FNHA on how that's funded? Because I know there is help for off-reserve patient travel. So it might be just a process thing in which we look at figuring out what their process is to access that funding for off-reserve and just advocate for that. But I agree, if there is no help, we should be looking at some sort of compassionate fund of assisting with travel, because it is expensive. And yeah, I've had to do lots of medical travel in the last 2 years, and it's pricey, when you're spending $5 to $10 grand a year on traveling for specialist appointments. Yeah, so I'm supportive of that.
Yeah, I wonder if we could have like a navigator or something like that within our health center that'll help, off lands, off reserve, whatever, of our members and we can steer them in the right place. They can access the funding that's there, because Eric's right. There is, those folks are covered one way or the other. They just might need some help getting that help, right? Like going in the right direction, helping with the forms and all that. And then if there is a gap, then we could, maybe that's the gap we fill with our other sources. And if there's like a top up that we're doing for Tla'amin people here, then perhaps those people should be topped up too, right? I'm not sure how that works, but I thought.
I think there is, like, our policy.
Yeah, because that's what I heard at one point. We were doing a bit more for folks over and above what the policy or the funding we receive. So I'm in support of looking at those things for sure.
Larry?
I support that too, because I recommended a navigator to Nathan quite a while ago, and just never brought it up. I'm glad it's up here. I'm glad it's here. I think we should move forward on that to help assist whatever we can with the off-reserve members for sure.
I agree. We have an elder living kind of the north side of Vancouver Island that contacted me last fall or last summer. He had a medical appointment. It was either in Nanaimo or Victoria, and I just had to ask him to go through the health department and connected them with them. But I don't know what the outcome was, but we should be helping our people, especially our elders that live away from home. Thank you.
Okay, you know what? I just wanted to make sure that I got the go-ahead to kind of pursue this, so I will reach out to FNHA and talk with the Marlene as well.
Sounds good.
That kind of stuff should go into the NEMOs too.
Definitely. Thank you.
Make it known to everybody.
Moving on, housing, Clean BC program, contract award. Dylan?
Yes, thanks, Higgies. In your package, I think it's in the second part of the package, there's a memo near the bottom. D15 is the marker. But this is about something we worked on, we approved a, application or support an entry into this program for Clean BC. What it is it's replacing heat sources with heat pumps. So you're either replacing oil. Oil is like the main, or like let's call it kind of priority number one, and then wood stoves is priority number two. And what we can, through this program, allows us to be subsidized pretty good, like up to 80% of the cost of a new heat pump. And we need somebody to do the work, like of installing heat pumps for the homes that are going to take advantage of this. And this memo is seeking council's approval here for awarding that work to Tempco. And the total amount that we've been kind of earmarked for this program is $500,000. That doesn't mean $500,000 from us. It means kind of the overall spend under this program is 500, and up to 80% of that will be covered under this program. So as you can see, the second bullet, to confirm, the nation will commit 100,000 to the 500,000 total program cost. That's if we use it all. So that's what that translates to. Yeah, you can see in the background some of the, what I said earlier, that we committed to the, there's a resolution we passed for the program, and we got in, and now we're kind of, okay, who's going to do the work? The reason why, I recommend we support this kind of award of the work to Tempco is we have a relationship with Tempco where they've been responsive to us in our needs, I guess, with respect to the Gov House and then other heat pumps that we've had across the community. So we've got a relationship with them that's good. We can good relationship with them. They are of the right, I guess. We're not sure anybody else can really deliver on this magnitude of project in this amount of time, right? So the timeline is for June 2021. Tempco is, the biggest in the region and the most, kind of people and anyway, equipment, and they understand this program well. Rich has done, had some conversations with them, and we have to be really careful with meeting all the requirements under the program, right? It's not like, pick a heat pump, get it installed, and we'll cover up 80%. It's like there's all sorts of prescribed criteria for this, and we have to make sure that whoever's going to deliver the work is going to do it the right way so that we can get reimbursed under the program. So for those reasons, Tempco is being recommended as the deliverer of this program, and I guess that's all I'll say right now, and I'll wait for questions and such. I see Eric's got his mitt up. Eric?
Darkest mitt. I don't know how I did that. But,
your hand must be cold.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to go through that process right now for my personal home, so I know how stringent the program is with the ICS numbers and all that stuff. I'm just wondering, for residential homes, you have to pay the entire amount and then submit for a reimbursement from BC Hydro. So is this something that we will be committing the whole 500,000 and then seeking reimbursement later on?
I believe that's
Yes.
I believe that's what has to be done. Yeah.
Except it might not be the whole 500,000, because I think if you do a house or two houses, and then you can seek reimbursement if that's in order, and then carry on. So I don't think
because the program for houses, they gave us a deadline of March 31st to finish the work, but they've just extended that out now till June 5th.
Right.
So all the work has to be completed by June 5th, and then you seek your reimbursement within 6 months of that. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Has all the houses been
I've just done that program as well on a private homeowner basis. I've had a heat pump installed at the beginning of January, but their requirements from Hydro was that I'm a homeowner, private homeowner, and I had to have the land married to the house in total. So I had to get the lands department to do some paperwork for me. to get that ball rolling. And then I had to submit that to Hydro, confirming that I did actually own the land and the house together. I got a rebate of $6,000, so my payments for my heat pump start in April for $148 a month for, I think it's like 4 years. But yeah, I did apply for the heat pump rebate program and I got approved, so I did that on my own. But there's a little bit of stipulations there, a little bit of red tape, but it's well worth it.
Has the houses been earmarked, or is like because got 4 months to deliver? Has Richard did an inventory of what houses need to be targeted?
Yeah, I think there is a list. There is a list of homes that would be eligible for this, right? Like I said, it's only for fuel switching or heat switching. So you've got baseboards, and
Oil.
Primary. What's that?
And oil.
Yeah, so it's really for oil. There's like that's the 80%. So if you've got oil in your house and you haven't heard, anyway, if you're interested, like I'd encourage you to get in touch with housing. But it's just there's the criteria is because if you have baseboards and oil, then you might not be eligible. Like I don't know, it's very kind of narrow, but it's worth kind of for the homes that qualify. Like this is a good program to use because heat pumps aren't cheap, right? So,
is this for our social housing, or is this for anyone and everyone?
This is I think for everyone. I think it's
area, whatever.
Owners too. I hope I'm not getting.
Anybody can apply, just like Tyrone and I did. You can apply for the program yourself, and they send you a code, and all your contractor has to do is quote that code on the final invoice, and then you submit that to BC Hydro, and you get the rebate yourself. So anybody in the community in a private-owned home, they can do that themselves, no problem.
Okay, so I guess my question is, are we doing this on all our social housing?
I believe that's the focus of this part.
Okay, right.
That's all the Ladner homes and stuff?
Yeah, I don't know specifically which homes, but yeah.
Some of them have converted over to heat pump already.
Yep.
So is there any issue with direct awarding this to Timco? If not, it sounds like a good plan. They're local and I think they'd be able to deliver.
Yeah, I think given the time restraints that we have right now, like people are booking up a year ahead. So if we can secure Temco to get this work done and they can efficiently get it done by the deadline, then I'm comfortable with the direct award.
Yeah, I mean, it's really time sensitive and getting it done. Like Eric said, like there's a lot of folks who are trying to take advantage of this, right? Because there's that rebate program that's like double the rebate. So, let's. My recommendation is we lock it in, and willing to make a motion in that regard if that's what's needed.
I highly recommend Temco do it. It takes them a day to put the heat pumps in, and that's it. They're very professional, clean. Yeah. I'm in support of it.
If we have no objections here, I believe we have consensus to move forward. I believe I would hear no objections so far. Okay, going once, twice. Sounds good. I think we're going ahead with this.
Right. Thank you.
Moving on to Public Works, Yard Works posting. Dylan.
Right, that's for me as well. The next page in your package is another memo. This is seeking approval to hire 4 seasonal full-time staff to support a range of activities that we do every year. But it's extending that window from April 1st to September 30th. So that would be the the time frame, as opposed to the kind of flurry of hiring that we do through, June, July, August, sometimes May. If let's call it like the spring cleanup, for instance, is like sometimes it's in May, and then we have to hire a bunch of people, and then anyway. So this is to try to kind of get ahead of some work that we can start doing in April and smooth out the like I said, the flurry of activity that happens, because it does take a lot of bandwidth and supervision and administration when we have to kind of hire a bunch of people for a specific project. If we have 4 people on staff for the 6 months that we know we've got the activities lined up, then it's just going to alleviate the piece. So in the memo, you can see there's some background about the activities that these 4 seasonal people would be performing. There's the drainage ditch clearing, the seasonal garbage cleanup, like the spring cleanup, wildfire fuel reduction programs, maintenance of areas where brush has been removed, so the kind of brush clearing, some brushing activities and grass cutting. So Rich had done some analysis as to kind of the labor hours expended and the management time that is required to organize the casuals that we hire. The peak time was in July, where we'd hire as much as 12 full-time casuals. And then so the management time for these types of hires, casuals, are within the Housing and Lands Department. And like I said, it can take as much as 65 hours per month. So you can see there's a bit of analysis with some numbers there in the memo that show, I wish we could pull this up for people to see, but just shows how the amount of time it takes in those months of the end of June, July, August, September. And then the alternative is this what I'm proposing here, which is hiring these 4 people. And when there's a savings of amount of time that we spend in that process by kind of getting them on.
And the firewood training, the elders firewood too.
Okay.
Could add that too.
Okay.
And the other thing this does is it takes it away from all different departments hiring people and, poaching them from one another and all that stuff too.
Exactly. So next steps would be, if this is approved, you'd hire the 4 casual laborers, the 4 casual employees starting April 1st. And we'll before they're obviously hired, we'll outline the activities. So we'll add, what Lori just suggested. I hope that I think they'll have the time to do that, but I'll leave that to Rich to kind of figure out. And yeah, this is good for the people that would be hired for this. So rather than, let's say, 2 months of work, they'll have 6 months of work. But also when the season's up, they may be able to access employment insurance during the off season. So prior, they wouldn't have had the hours, I guess, in the more clustered approach. So, and it may help us with some of the stuff that we've been saying we want to do in public works around maintenance, yard maintenance for folks who are like elderly or people with disabilities. They can't cut their own grass and maintain their yards. So this should be able to help with those situations as well. So with that whole spiel, recommending that we approve this proposal here. That's outlined in the memo.
Any questions, comments? Looks good.
Okay. Consensus?
Consensus moving forward.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Yep, thanks.
I apologize. I should have added this on. I thought it was going to be added already, but we got an email from Kathy regarding an opportunity for, some housing for a 45-man camp Could I add that on with the permission of, I guess, who moved and seconded? Losa and Eric. So I guess moving forward, I got an email from Kathy saying that there's an opportunity for the housing for the sewer line that's going to be going through Paul River to our nation. There's an opportunity for housing for a 45-man camp. There's 3 different sites that's been looked at. I guess the log dump where the compost facility is targeted to. The other one is T-Squat, where the old hospital is. And the third site was behind the field. This could bring, I guess, it's broken down into, was that a 2-year? They want a 2-year, I guess, a lease or some kind of agreement for 2 years to place this on. Looking at the breakdown, it's $5 per worker per day, 40 to 45 workers equals to $225 a day. In the 2 years, it's a roughly $144,000 that could be brought to our lands for renting this parcel out for the 2 years. This was just pitched yesterday. I got a phone call from Kathy and Craig, and I just wanted to bring this to the table and just seeing what the leadership thinks about this. I believe, I'm not sure if a package was sent, but the company that submitted this, I believe it's, it says on here, Scott McLeod owns the company, Black Diamond or something like that. I see Lori has her hand up.
Yeah, they brought it up with me and just to let me know that, you know, they're putting this to us. So the contractor for the Paul River Sewer Project, the contractor, you know, he's going to bring 45 guys for 2 years, and they have trailers and things set up, the plan, and they're asking us first if they can lease a parcel of land to set up a 45-man camp. So, and they also want to, you know, they have to set up a kitchen and dining area. So they want to hire chefs and give Tla'amin Nation the opportunity to employ some of the chefs and other camp services. So yeah, so I guess he's starting first with the parcel of land. So he's wondering, this person is wondering if they can lease or some kind of come to an arrangement, which they just proposed. I guess that's their budget, to lease a parcel of land to put their trailers for 2 years for the life of the sewer project. Thank you. That's all I know.
Yeah, only concern I kind of have is the COVID plan and kind of having 45 people come from God knows where, but okay. Losa, have a comment?
Oh, there is actually an official memo and some diagrams of the site. Do you want to share it, Rod, or I can see if I can pull it up? Sheena sent it to us. Okay, let me see. Okay, here we go. Can you guys see this?
Yep.
Okay, so give you a second to read it.
Black Diamond Group, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Scott McLeod, he's one of the contract workers that work under TLC, just to give everyone background on Scott.
It looks like they've done quite a bit of work on this already.
So that work the contractor hasn't even been awarded yet for who's going to build this thing. But Black Diamond says, we know this is coming and we have relationships with all the contractors. And so we want to get ahead of it by trying to secure some space so that they can win the camp award. Is that what I see happening here?
Yeah, I think that's correct, Dylan, that they have been chosen to coordinate all of this stuff for whoever is awarded the contract. That's my understanding.
Who would have chosen them?
The city.
Gotcha.
And so this, in very rough numbers, this proposal, whichever piece of land they use, that would be about $6,000 a month. So I'm not sure, without, measuring the space they're going to use and so on, whether that's fair or unfair.
Well, that's what I mean. It seems to be like a curveball, and I know I'm probably one of the only people with a commercial lease with the nation, and it took me 9 years to get that. And it was based on fair market value, and there was an appraisal process that wasn't put in place. So it just seems like we're kind of jumping process again, and looking at an opportunity and trying to approve something quickly that gets thrown across our desk without the due diligence. The questions I have are sewage. Like, if they pick any of those spots in town, who's going to install the septic system? Are we going to have to create a municipal type service arrangement for the T-Squat site to tap into the city's sewage and water system? Are they going to get their tanks pumped out? Like, what's the plan there? It raises a lot of questions for me. I think it's a good opportunity for us to look at, but again, to have it thrown across our desk and have to make a decision on it without being able to see the information and do our due diligence on it. I'd like to take a bit more time to actually look at the memo and understand it a little bit better, and try and figure out, do we need to go down the route of an MTSA, and what's that going to cost us? Because now, if we do an MTSA with the city and it costs us $150,000 for the 2 years, then we're going backwards and we're not making any money on this. So lots of questions.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, Eric. It's, this is not for a decision today, I hope. So I don't know what the rush factor is. Does Kathy talk about that in this memo?
Well, it says two years starting April 1st, 2021. And I don't think we'll
April 1st, 2021.
Right? Like I agree with Eric. Like, this needs a lot of consideration, right? Like, I mean, this is coming out of nowhere. Opportunities arise and we got to look at them, and it's good to get leadership kind of appetite, but like,
send it over to TMS.
Yeah. And like, there's a lot of, like, for these types of work camps, like, there's a lot of impacts, right? Like, it's not just, okay, the use of the land and, how much revenue, like, there's social impacts, right? Like, there's risks with that, right? Like, from like bigger projects up north where you see these big work camps come in, there's like, it puts community, like, depending on who's coming in for that work, like, it just introduces a bunch of risks beyond even just COVID stuff, right? Like, there's
and alcohol.
We gotta really think about this and look at, what's out there, what's fair. Like, I don't even know. I've never done any research as to what, other landlords have, what's competitive, and then, like I said, those social and human impacts we got to think about too. So, not to mention other proposals for these lands, right? So, and I think the option number 3 in Tla'amin is a non-starter for me.
Absolutely.
I don't think so. Yeah.
And
there's, sorry, go ahead, Rod.
If they're talking about April 1st, 2021, they must be planning to do a lot of infrastructure, because there won't be any work happening.
That's what I mean. Are they going to pay for the tap-in for the sewage and the water? I see they've looked at pump out using rural septic, but again, if we're now leasing the land that we own in the city, fee simple, and then they don't have access to services, that opens up that MTSA discussion where we got to pay for those services, fire protection, all that stuff. And there's going to be inspections that the city is going to want to see as well.
Yep.
They were very strict on just putting my food truck at the town site brewery. I had 9 inspections. So I just don't see the city would be interested in even having a little shanty town set up in town site. There is the opportunity. I was looking at some of the floating barges for another project for one of the other nations. So there are floating barges that are 35 to 50 man floating camps that are available for lease. So I don't know if we just want to pitch them to look at that. I know they're probably looking at trying to create an opportunity for the nation, but I just see more risk than what it's worth for $144,000 right now.
So should we just table this item?
It sounds like there's a lot of questions and a lot of concerns.
And honestly, you know, with April 1st, I don't see us being able to analyze this to a good comfort level in that short of a time, but maybe we can.
One of the sites, there's the mill pond that has no water, electricity, nothing.
And, you know, in the option 3 behind the soccer field, so they talk about all these costs and stuff, but I don't see where they say who's paying that. I mean, I'm guessing they're saying we will do this, but I'm not positive. Anyway, yeah.
Well, we can write a list of all our questions that we just discussed and more, and then put it all together and send it back to these people and say we have questions and comments that we would like addressed.
That sounds good.
I'd like that option. Eric's there too, with the barge. Where I worked for BC Packers once in Benville Sound. That was pretty good living conditions. Talk about camps. My son himself hasn't been to camp for 8 months, so everything's pretty much shut down in that respect. They're talking here about pumping out the sewer out of the camp. That's a lot of work. 45-man camp, yeah. I think we should take some more time too.
Thank you, Larry. Sounds good. We'll table that one and put those questions forward. And then moving on, treaty implementation, the 5-year anniversary.
Yeah, so it's just something I've been thinking about for a while and trying to come up with something special for the 50-year anniversary. But with COVID, it's like extremely difficult. I'm failing. I can't think of what we can do to celebrate the 50-year anniversary that would be pretty cool in this environment. So I'm just throwing it on the table, see if anybody has any wonderful ideas. Maybe somebody's seen something on TV or whatever that, you know, this is how this event happened. So that's it. I'm just throwing it out because it's kind of important and I'd love to celebrate it, but I just don't know how.
My idea was to do some sort of digital Zoom protocol, and I was chatting with Drew about this, and I think I talked about it at a meeting back in the day when we canceled the canoe journey. I was just part of a 5-day EMBC open house, I guess it was, a round table, and there was hundreds of people online, and we Drew's partner is part of an online Facebook Live group that does cultural sharing, which has quite a few people involved. So I think there's a way that we could honor Travel Journeys 2021 and do some sort of digital online culture sharing where each nation gets to share some of their protocols and their songs, take the floor for, you know, whatever it is, half an hour, 40 minutes, and kind of do an all-day celebration where we can share cultures, songs. That's what I was thinking for the canoe journey. But for our 5-year celebration, you know, one thing we could do is maybe have one of those 4 or 5 hour Zoom sessions with everybody involved and invited, and share some culture, share some stories, and celebrate that way, where we can talk about, you know, where we come from with some teachings, some lessons on the land. There's a number of really good videos on YouTube that Alex has done over the last while. Share some of that information and history. So I think there's a way we can do it through Zoom, and I'd be all for sort of racking Alex's brain on how we can make that happen, and then ask Drew for some of those examples that I've seen over the last little while. I think there's a way we can do it.
Yeah, through Zoom, obviously, I had thought of that. One other idea I had was, I wonder if we could get Shaw Cable to simulcast it. So let's say we did something over Zoom. I wonder if we could get Shaw Cable to put it on TV at the same time, because so many people don't have computers, especially elders. So maybe that's something we could look into. I have no idea how to go about that, but I could certainly give it a shot.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I didn't know. I don't have cable anymore, so I didn't know that was still a thing. The Shaw local network.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a channel on there that like the very lowest number, 2 or 1 or whatever, I think is like a community Shaw community thing.
Yeah, that's cool. So the Zoom, we would come up with like an agenda for like a Zoom format, like with cultural aspects. Do we want to have any? And then perhaps that Zoom can be aired on Shaw too. I like that. Is there government business like sort of thing we want to include too? No, just.
Well, that wasn't my thought. I mean, it was an open page anyway, but no, I was thinking a celebration.
Yeah. Well, I just meant maybe not so much like, maybe government business is the wrong word, but like maybe some reflections off like provided by somebody.
Sure.
What it means.
Oh yeah.
Where and maybe not even from us, right? Like people probably heard from me enough at least, but maybe they want to hear from other community people that want to speak about it, right? Elders, youth. I don't know. It'd be good to include those.
Well, if maybe if you guys want to think about what you would like to see for sort of an agenda in that respect, I'll see what I can figure out on the technical end because I'm so technical. And I think the hardest part is going to be faxing the hamburgers, but we'll figure that out.
What about a video? Like a short video that we also play of the last few years. Or all of our accomplishments, just a quick, I know Alex is so great with these things, and I think if we supported him or even he could find somebody to put together a really nice video, a short clip, just a couple of minutes long, so it reaches all of our members and citizens.
Yeah.
That might work too.
Yeah.
I like the idea that maybe you have an elder commentator.
A couple clips from our meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you said an elder commentator, did you say, John?
Something like that. That'd be great.
That's a good idea. Sort of a moderator, right? Somebody who's leading this whole thing.
Yeah.
I think Larry might have been trying to say something there. I might have interrupted.
No, I agree with that too. I like that idea. So from the first dig to where we are now.
That sounds good. We'll forward some ideas and come up with some ideas on this.
Okay, so I'll get on to seeing what can happen with Shaw and so on pretty quick because it's coming up very shortly.
All right, that kind of wraps up the the new business. Moving on to House Post reports, lands and resources.
Okay. I guess first of all, yesterday I believe our GIS technician started, Jennifer. I don't know, has anyone met her yet? I guess Rod's the only one in the office.
I haven't met her yet.
Okay. I guess, well, I hope someone's assigned to her.
Yeah, I know. Kathy said she will be working in the office because of the equipment.
Okay,
but I was working from home yesterday, so I didn't meet her.
Okay. So the lands department and collaborating with Eric too, dates have been narrowed down for the introduction to oil spill emergency response 2-day training. So March 6 and 7, or March 16 and 18, or February 20 and 21. So those are the dates that have been narrowed down. So I guess we're just, the lands department's just organizing our participants, staff and nation members, fire department volunteers, whoever's interested. So they're working on that. And funding is through the peer fisheries funding, or no, Coast Guard funding. So last Wednesday on February 10, we had our referrals and NRC meeting. In the morning, we had presenters from Ministry of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation, Stefan Virtue, Nadinska, and Oliver Dan, who's replacing Stefan. So yeah, so we're just working out the details for the funding. We're getting 50,000. So I think, yeah, we were kind of, Kathy was going to make arrangements to make sure the finance department kind of has a separate account just for easier management and control of those funds, I guess, because it's going to go towards our referral systems and other things for the planning of the ROA. In the afternoon, we had the NRC meeting. We had presenters from Seashelt. So we had Chris August, I believe he's a senior manager or counselor from Seashelt. He had a couple of staff with him. And then we also had Brian James from the local Flinro office and a regional rep. I can't remember his name, Jeff. So the topic was the Seashell land use planning, information sharing and question and answer with respect to our overlap agreement with Seashell, our shared territory and shared harvest agreement we have with them. And so their land use planning that they're working on, their framework, it's only going to be for their SWIA, which is their word for traditional territory. So it was good relationship building. It was a good meeting. I'm not sure when the next one is, but when they get to their next phase, we're going to have another meeting with them. So our next referrals at NRC is March 10. So I just emailed a little while ago to MER and asked them if they can make the March 10th. And I said, alternatively, the April meeting is April 14th. So I kind of, I'm not sure if they're already booked for March 10th or not. So I just kind of asked if they were open to meeting with us monthly with respect to the Theodosia shared decision making to revitalize that. Kathy's been working on, she already hosted one forum on water. So in our treaty, we have water licenses, and she hosted a forum where she was looking at the watersheds, the Tla'amin Lake watershed, the Oakover watershed, and the Theodosia watershed, and then also with respect to our water licenses. And then because of the Water Act, the new Water Act, and then she's just trying to seems like she's trying to get a grip on our water resource in our territory and in our treaty. So she held a meeting, and she invited Flinro, Ministry of Environment, and other water related ministries. So she's proposing to host another forum, and I kind of just emailed it to Rod and asked him, for some advice on that. I'm not sure about COVID because she was asking if we could host a meeting at Town Center. So I'm not sure about that. So I'll leave that to Rod because he's the one implementing our COVID plan. So I'm not sure, she wants to have it on March 10th, but I'm not sure, do we want to do a strategic plan first or do this forum? I don't know. I think we need a little bit of organization around that. So I'm not sure if we should add that to the implementation working group meeting. If we could please add that, someone. Maybe we should have a more in-depth discussion about that, because it's it's one of her priorities. So and then I also mentioned to you, John brought up the project manager for the Pulliver Sewer. So we already talked about that. Denise was talking with the emergency response in town. I can't remember his name, but there's funding for fire, like fireproofing, fire smart community. There's a grant there, so she wants to apply for it. I'm not sure if she's coordinating with Eric, because it can be wildland fire, so we can do some like guarding, fire guarding buffer, and it's also open to residential fire proofing. So it's a like really diverse, broad grant. So that'll be coming to someone, probably admin and Rod, maybe your house post, Eric.
So Lori, are you talking about, like, we have given support to Ryan Toms, who I think is who you're talking about,
right?
To get the grant money for Fire Smart for several years, but it hasn't been used here. It's been used like up at the Penticton trails and so on and so forth. So is this that again, or is this us applying for it ourselves for Tla'amin's? Okay.
Yeah.
I did the application last year, Rod, from my Knotsmalt position, and got the nation $50,000 to do the work on Harwood Drive, as well as some of the other communities for prickle removal. And they were very happy with the work that Tla'amin did. Finesse has been here for an inspection, post-work inspection, and they're willing to fund even more work to happen this year. I think where we were struggling with was capacity and just trying to keep up. But a really good amount of work was done to reduce the fuel load close to the houses on Harwood Drive last year. Right. I'd like to see it continue, but it needs somebody now to do those applications again and try and coordinate the work again here in the nation.
And is it through FireSmart or Finesse, or is it the same?
It's through Finesse. It's the same thing. It's just there's a separate pot of money that's administered by Finesse, and it's a separate application process. So I did the application, sent it to Denise. She submitted it, and we got the funding. And Kathy managed the project as well as the final reporting for this year. Yeah.
Okay. Great.
So this one is for 150,000. So I was thinking we could set up a 6-month term job, and then that way this fire coordinator can also collect EI afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for adding to that. So a referral came in after my referrals meeting last Wednesday. So I guess the Pulliver Sewer project, the outfall, there was a new finding that there's eelgrass there. So, and I believe eelgrass is habitat for herring. So Sean Tugas just emailed me right away, and I said my gut instinct is to say no, don't put the outfall there, because we're in support of protecting herring habitat. So I said I think we should make them get a RP bio, have the outfall removed or moved away from that eelgrass. And I guess there was expressed concern about maybe the cost of, a little bit more bio time, RP bio time and research. So I'm still following up with Sean on that. I told him to do a round of questions with Denise and Kathy and Tyrone. So I will follow up on that. If you guys have any comments you would like to give Sean, please send him an email. yeah, I think we should be doing everything. I don't care about costs. I think we should be doing everything we can to protect herring habitat.
They spawn in eelgrass, I think, right?
Yeah, I believe that's the
It's
life
a
cycle part. Yeah,
predation cover. Yeah, they hide in the eelgrass so they don't get eaten by bigger things.
Oh, okay, so it's not spawning area. It's
It's
okay,
both.
got it.
Yeah, it's both.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think we should be doing everything we can for that. I have an appointment this Friday, and I won't say any names because I'm not sure if they want their names, spoken on live streaming. But I have an appointment this Friday to talk about someone that works on a shared decision-making agreement on Vancouver Island. So I'm going to be getting a little bit more context and background about their experience about negotiating one. And then I saw that John signed the Forest 10 years opportunity agreement on February 3rd. So I guess that was sent off to the ministry for the minister to sign off on that. So hopefully it won't be too much longer for the province to sign it. And then there's money that comes with that, and then two forest licenses, 2 allocations. So that's great news. Tomorrow I have 4 job interviews. I'm on the job interview panel for 2 traditional use studies positions and 2 guardian positions. So I'll be busy with that in the morning. And another one was thank you to public works staff who cleared the snow plowing. I'm very happy that they were right on top of it, and they snow plowed on the first day of snowfall. And I think that's about it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. That's a great update.
Can I just ask a question of, I guess it'd be a resources. We had an offer to renew the, used to be FCURSA, right?
Yes.
I wanted to know what our plan is there, because I don't think we've ever really kind of questioned or pushed back on it. We just kind of sign and take the money. But to me, it strikes me like it's bizarre that there wouldn't be any like at the very least an inflation or inflator, because it's the same amount for kind of as long as I can remember under that program. And I was just clicking around, because all these agreements are public, right? Like the provincial website, you can see what other nations have. And I was just looking at some of our neighboring nations who, it seems, I think it must be based on like a population amount, and that gets bizarre, but instead of like what is actually being taken from the territory. But looking at Seychelles' agreement, you can look back at what their first agreements were and then what they're at now, and they've obviously done a good job in getting more. So I don't know, who's responsible for that from our end of things, but I think we should be, asking, what is this based on? And then employing kind of a similar strategy to what Seychelles has done, or you know what I mean? And at the very least, it should be more. If it was the same amount 10 years ago, obviously that doesn't go as far as it did 10 years ago as it does, today. So anyway, I just think we should, instead of just signing the bottom line this time, let's do a bit of work to advocate for more.
If we have that window to advocate, I think now would be the perfect time, because TFL 39 is under review right now. I think that'd be the perfect time to get a cut out of that Crown land portion, or that tenure that Western operates right now. They're supposed to get renewed last August, and they've been holding off because we've been pushing back on that level. But if we're not pushing back on a provincial level, it doesn't make sense. I think we've got to be pushing on both sides. I think we reviewed this last meeting. I think we should have flagged it then. I wonder if it's too late to pull our.
This is different, isn't it? Like, because the
FTOA and FCURSA, I thought they're the same document almost.
I don't think so. The other one is for a tenure, right? Like that's the 20 or 18,000.
So the business to business 18,000 cubic meters a year is one component of the FTOA, and then the 10,000 a year standalone for 10 years is another component of the FTOA. So two of them are tied to the FTOA.
Yeah, but this is the CURSA, which is like our accommodation agreement, basically for what.
Yeah.
It replaces the old forest and range agreement.
Yeah.
So we have time to push back on that. We definitely should. We have leverage there with TFL 39 being renewed. I think that'd be the perfect time to really dig our heels in. So
we should. Well, I remember last term, but I wasn't on there. The implementation working group, didn't Stefan and Nadinska attend everyone, or did they just attend quarterly? What was our schedule with Stefan and Nadinska last term, Rod?
Our schedule? I'm sorry, I don't really understand the question.
What was our commitment from Nadinska and Stefan for meetings with them?
I don't think they had a specific commitment. They were available. Stefan in particular was very available, but I don't recall them sort of committing to a monthly meeting or a bi-weekly meeting or anything like that.
Okay, so I think we should have a meeting with them and put this on the agenda.
Well, I agree, but I think it's a FLNRO thing, right?
Yeah.
So yes. Who sent that offer, right? Because I saw an email come in from.
I think it came from Stefan.
Oh, I thought
I'm not positive because I got a lot of emails in the last day or so, but I think it was from Stefan.
Well, I mean, they have the support staff, so that'll be they'll have like at least one or two from this office, and then at least one from region level, and then MER. So yeah, so I think we should I don't know if you just want to ask Oliver and Nadinska and then let them arrange who they want, or if you just want to contact Brian and Mark Sloan and say at the local office here and say, hey, we want to talk about FCURSA.
Yeah, I'll look at who sent it first, and then reach out accordingly. And if it's not from MER, I'll make sure that they get included. And Dylan, I thought that was based on volume that's being harvested, but
could be wrong.
Maybe not.
Well, why wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's probably arbitrary. I don't know.
But they know this is a new elected term. So if we say we want to meet on this and discuss it, then they'll come with all the materials they need.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can kickstart that one.
Yeah, I see. It is from Adi Gareb from Mir.
Right.
Also, it is from Mir.
Thought so.
That's bizarre. Okay, well, I see they've got a summary here. Anyway, let's table this for now, but let's pick this up because anyway, let's do what we can here. But yeah,
and it's time sensitive. We want to get on
an accommodation thing, right? So I guess let's ask for how they got arrived at it for Seashell, because we are nearby, probably similar amount of activity, and see what they say, right? Because we know what the offer is, so let's have them kind of explain.
Yeah. Okay.
Sounds good. Moving on to finance, how it's supposed to report.
Off mute. Okay, so finance, again, not too much to report, but a lot of meetings with TMS to kind of get to where we're at right now with respects to the board configuration. A bit of a learning curve for some of the board members coming into the situations that we're currently in with respects to finances and where some of our money is placed. So there's a few ongoing meetings looking at some of the investments that are currently held by TMS and looking at some of the opportunities as well going forward to create some business opportunities for the nation. Audit findings are still being addressed. We do have that draft audit ready. I believe Rod's got that from David. The audit is holding up some bank loan processes for citizens with respects to mortgage. So we need to move fast at trying to get this audit approved as soon as possible. Have done quite a bit of work on this peer funding program with Denise and the Lands Department, just as an ask to participate and help. There's a lot of funding available there for the nation, and there's a lot of really good work that needs to happen this fiscal, and it's going to be a little smoother for next fiscal. Just we're kind of in March Madness mode right now. There's a lot of funding opportunities available and some additional funds to get some training done. But COVID seems to be in the way right now with being able to send people away to take this training that's available. Also, a number of discussions with Denise and the Hawkeye Institute regarding marine use planning and coming up with a way to create a coordinated marine use plan for the nation, but also engage some of the sister nations as each nation seems to be doing their own marine use plan. Looking at a large focus on herring habitat, and some of the restoration of that habitat is going to be crucial. Meetings with Murray Brown around the on-reserve mortgage program and how the mortgages are registered and secured by the nation. So again, looking at some of the risk for the nation in securing these mortgages and being quite comfortable in that there's zero delinquency rate on any mortgages that we do have in place. There was no real impacts due to COVID. And looking at the protocols going forward on any of these secured mortgages, if there is delinquency on a 30, 60, 90-day program where the nation would work with the citizen and the bank to address those delinquencies if they do pop up. Worked with Bank of Montreal on the increased mortgage limits, which we passed today, and also still ongoing meetings with Van City, Royal Bank, and the holdup there right now is the audit. So we need the audit in hand to move forward with those other two banking processes. Recently, a lot of chatter in the community, a lot of questions looking at our hiring processes. We are working pretty hard as a nation to fill the major gaps that we have and try and create some more efficiencies within Governance House and recruit and retain some quality staff. But what I've witnessed is that our hiring process needs a major overhaul and need to be brought up to date. So I think going forward over the next few weeks, we should look at clarifying the process for everybody involved, looking at having professional folks at the table to assist us with these interviews has been great. But I think that's also a good way from the outside in to find out, what efficiencies we could find within our hiring process, how we make up our panels. Just the entire process is something that we should be looking at next steps. Lot 450, Jennifer Griffiths, a few conversations with the archaeologists and some of the historians who's worked with the Lot 450 research, and spoken with Chris Springer, Colin Osmond, and Dana Lepovsky I believe we're identifying the need for a dedicated person to take on this Lot 450 specific information, because right now we've basically sent everything off to Jennifer, but there's a lot of digging involved. So I think bringing on someone like Colin Osmond to mine all of that Lot 450 information out and present that to Jennifer in a package is something that would save us money in the long run. So that's something I'd like to discuss maybe at the next meeting. Also, just on the radar for other executive and legislators is that the school board has an upcoming election. And with the passing of the late Jack Timothy, there's a vacancy there and need for Indigenous participation at that board to ensure that our students and the Tla'amin Nation is a part of the discussion and a part of the process. So I would strongly encourage any Tla'amin Nation parents or even members of legislature to put their name forward for those board seats at the school district. And I'd really like to see at least 2 out of the 3 seats filled by Tla'amin Nation people to ensure proper representation at that board. Sister Nation discussions. There's a great need right now for our sister nations to work together, looking at a common theme right now of economic development. All of our sister nations do participate in logging and are currently doing some reviews of their practices and partnerships right now. And I think this is an opportune time to pitch a meeting between the sister nations to move forward on finding, economic prosperity for our nations and ways to participate together in some of the activities with joint interest. There's also joint interest right now with the sister nations on marine use planning and developing a Guardian Watch network. And I've had discussions with Hamalco and Clahoos recently about this, and I'll have some more discussions with them about how we can do a meet and greet between the chief and councils and maybe come up with some of these common threads so we can get some paths forward on how we engage each other and work together on some of these initiatives. So that's all I've got to report on. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Great update. Moving on to community services.
Tegus. Meetings attended on February 4th. I met with Derek Yang. He's the new community services director. Just kind of give him an outline of my vision and what I'd like to see happen in that department. On the 4th, we also visited the Sailor Center. Derek, myself, Eric, and some Melinda from Health, just to go over the layout of the Sailor Center for the vaccination clinic. On the 5th, Hagoos and I met with Rita Alton. She's the acting dean for VIU, the Powell River campus. And Rita just talked about the Aboriginal Services Plan and her role and wanting to know more about the nation's priorities. One thing that she raised that I think would be beneficial to us is specific training for nation employees and staff. That is an option that we have through the Aboriginal Services Plan. She also talked about the success of OMSTOW, that whole model, and the potential to mimic that program, but have it in town. Another initiative discussed was Indigenous instructors and how it makes a difference in the schools for students to see their own people working in the school system. So those are a few things a few highlights from that meeting. So we'll be working more with her. I've been involved in all of the vaccination planning meetings. So there's actually like 1 to 2 a week. On the 10th, the Hagoos, the health director, and I met with the board of the Powell River Division of Family Practice. And this board is comprised of doctors and also community members. The chair expressed the group's interest to work together with the nation. And so I think that's a worthwhile partnership. So Jesus and I will continue to work with them and attend their board meetings, and also including the health director. On the 11th, we had the leadership chat, and I heard nothing but positive feedback from members. Every time I'm out, somebody will stop me and say that it was, they've really enjoyed it. On the 16th, another vaccination planning meeting and a housing committee meeting. So Councillor Johnson can speak to that. Two upcoming meetings already mentioned is a citizenship committee meeting on the 23rd and the organization chart review on the 24th. And that is it for me.
Thank you, Lisa. Great update. Moving on to Public Works.
Great, yeah, thanks. Oh, am I on mute? No, okay. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot because we did cover some housing memos and got some decisions earlier, so that's awesome. From the housing committee meeting that Losa mentioned, one of the kind of highlights is this idea came from Derek Yang, our new director of community services, around having a complex case management team. And what that is department heads or program heads that will come together to share kind of information and plan next steps when it comes to I guess really kind of centered around housing issues. But like, let's say there's a tenant of a Nation House who is not paying their rent despite numerous warnings, et cetera, et cetera. The housing might, start mobilizing to evict this person. But this person there might be several contributing factors to why that person isn't paying their rent. Some of which may be, there might be insights or kind of interventions that can be made from different programs that we run through the nation, whether that be health, so that whether that's kind of harm reduction staff or like social worker, or maybe it's maybe the rent could be covered through social assistance, and that tenant is just not made, done the paperwork to get social assistance. So perhaps there's intervention that can be made from the social SA department and getting that done. So all I'm saying is it's just coordination of across, because we kind of all do our own thing in our different programs, and it's not necessarily open lines of communication. Confidentiality is big, obviously, with this, so that'll be kind of the kind of guiding, the kind of main principle around how that group comes together. But it's just a way to, again, kind of collaborate or cooperate in trying to solve a problem in a good way. That doesn't just mean that it's about kind of supporting, our people. So I think it's a really good idea, and I know that Richard and Derek and then Verna joined us yesterday, and she was quite excited about it. So we'll keep you guys updated as to how that's coming together. The fireside chat, like Losa said, or the leadership chat, I've had good feedback so far. People really like that kind of format and looking forward to the next one. And one of the recommendations or suggestions came up was doing the the spring cleanup, we call it, or the community cleanup, do that twice a year. And my comments were, well, I'm not sure if that's possible, but I would check. And so this year, I think that program is going to be run out of Public Works, and with the help of those 4 seasonal staff that we just approved for hire in that. So I think we'll get a sense of how much work it is to from Public Works, where it's going to be run out of now, as to whether it's either worthwhile or if it's too burdensome to do it twice a year. So I guess we'll just see how that goes, and then bring the decision up here if there needs to be a decision as to do it twice a year. There's something not really public works related, but there's leadership related. There's the Land Claims Agreements Coalition is a group that the nation is involved with, and it's all of the modern treaty holders across Canada. So we know we've got our alliance group, that's British Columbia. Then we've got the national group, which is the LCAC. They've got their annual leadership meetings next week. And I checked in because I've been getting the emails, and I didn't know if John, you were getting them or not. I don't think you were, because I'd asked, oh, is Hegus John on that mailing list? And she said, no. Do you want me to add him? So I said, yes, please. So I hope you've got them now. You probably, if you did, you would have gotten probably like 15 emails kind of all in a row.
Yeah, my phone just went right off there.
So what that is about is it's so a gathering again of all the leadership from this group, and this group does kind of work on certain things that we all share. Like basically it's our relationship as Maryland Treaty Nations with Canada, and so as a group we kind of advocate for certain things. Like for instance, there's that changes to the Interpretation Act for Canada that would give us better protection. As Canada changes its laws, it doesn't affect our treaties, and so that's something, just as an example. So anyway, if you're interested, you attend those meetings. I'll probably pop into a few of them as I can, and if others want to receive those invites, I'm happy to add you guys. But it is a lot of meetings and a lot of stuff that might not all be of interest, is all I'm saying. Some of it might be really kind of high level and kind of dull, but if you're interested in hearing, meeting some of the other leaders from across Canada that have treaties, then that's a good group to. It's just good to know what they're working on, what the priorities are. And they've got a meeting with Minister Bennett on Thursday morning, the 25th, and so she'll be talking about, I guess some of the proposals that the LCAC has been working on, and kind of the overall, I guess, relationship with the government of Canada and modern treaty holders. And what else do I have? Sorry, I've lost my notes. There they are. Oh yeah, I saw Eugene. There's another. I just want to recognize Eugene Louis, who did the opening prayer and opening remarks at this conference. I'm on the board for the First Nations Financial Management Board, and that group with the First Nation Tax Commission, the First Nations Finance Authority, and the Lands Advisory Board, Land Code First Nations, they have this big conference every year. There's probably 600 or so people attend this thing, and it was all on Zoom today. But I was pleasantly surprised to see Eugene up there doing the opening remarks and opening prayer to this nationwide conference. So he represented us really well. So that was really cool. And before we move on to off of the, I guess, agenda, there was that question about the FCURSA and how they came up with that amount. I found the email and I looked at it, and what they've done, they do base it on what's harvested from the territory, but it's the amount they share is pathetic, to be honest. So the formula is, you either get this crummy formula that they agree or offer to share, or you get the previous year's amount or the previous agreement's amount, and whichever one is higher is what they'll offer. So at some point, the offer $451,000 per year, which we've had for a long time, was established through some formula they did. And now the kind of amount that they calculate based on the current activity is much lower, $238,000, because all they do is they share 3% of the royalties that BC collects from our territory is what they offer. So
that's horrible.
That's terrible.
Tragic. It's outdated, disrespectful. But so maybe the question for them is really like, okay, well, show us the models that you've struck elsewhere as well, because I know there's Seashell, there's the Carrier Sakani, etc. So we know that the 451 is the offer, but maybe let's have a meeting with Nadinska and this guy, Ati Gareb, and perhaps we say we want to hear about, these other examples of agreements and why ours is different.
And when you said those other agreements are public, but they're not public in that level of detail, is that correct?
To be honest, I guess I kind of like scanned to the amount, right? Like I didn't really go full deep dive. And if they have the formula, I don't think they have that formula.
No, they don't have the formula. They just have the written agreement. Then they have the signatures.
Yeah.
And then they have, yeah.
Right.
And it's all listed for all BC. Yeah.
So I just copied the link in the chat. If you want to peruse, sorry. I'm actually going to have to repost that. There we go. This one actually. And you can, see what's going on. But thanks. I guess that's it for me.
I think it's good to question them on this, especially with the DRIPA being implemented, because 3% is really colonial, and I disagree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I believe our first agreement was like in 2007, so it's been the same for 15 years now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for the update, Dylan. A part of this judicial review that we're participating in, I was tasked to kind of outsource some funding to offset our costs. Last Friday, I worked on a proposal from Environment Dispute Resolution Fund. It's an environmental legal aid fund that enables residents of British Columbia to hire a lawyer to take legal action on significant environmental challenges in their community. The program is made possible by generous support of Law Foundation of British Columbia. Chief Darren Blaney kind of linked me up to this opportunity, so I've worked on the application form last Friday. The grant can be used to cover hourly fees, to cover lawyer costs and expert technical support, and mediator and facilitators. The fund, what is it here? As the outline approved budget is received with your letter, basically we qualify for a stage 2 grant, which comes in like $17,500 intervals. We applied for it. Hamalco has applied for it as well. And just to update where we are in the judicial review, basically we prepared our affidavit to be added to the parties for injunction motion. Basically, this highlights, this will bring up our treaty obligations not being met, our constitutional rights to our diet and being infringed upon is not being met by DFO. Our traditional teachings and basically everything's being infringed upon with DFO letting these fish farms operate within our territory. Moving on, Losa and I met with the Dean of Academic Career Planning for Vancouver Island University. Her name is written down here. Okay. I did not write her name down. We talked about many of the programs that VIU offers, and they're going to be offering a lot of, certificate courses that's going to spin off from home care aids, like foot care and a bunch of other courses that our home care workers could specialize and get certificates in. We made a commitment to linking our community development officer, Derek, to the VIU academic planning coordinator. They'll be able to work together lots on developing a lot of programs together, like skill development for administration staff as well, who need to upgrade skills here and there, I guess Excel or what other various courses. What else? Yeah, we just agreed to keep a dialogue open to meet, quarterly or bi-monthly, to make sure that a lot of the programs and planning moves ahead smoothly. Moving on from then, Losa and I met with a citizen to remedy the application. They're having some problems with the application process, but that was sorted out before the meeting took place, so that was great. Tla'amin collaborate with Western Forest Products with removing the Section 21 amendment from Polliver is Polliver is trying to make we're opting out of the Section 21, so Polliver is trying to opt out, and we're trying to keep in along with Western Forest Products because of the restrictions that are in place. Moving on, negotiation protocol agreement was signed off for the Southview Pacific claim, so that was sent off. The Paul River Regional Family Practices was just a board of directors meeting. Me and Losa met up with them. It was just basic introduction. Other than that, the leadership chat with the community went great. I get a lot of good feedback as well with that. I think it'd be a strong tool to get feedback from our citizens. I think we should have spotlights on departments with the guest staff members in there, so staff members can answer questions pertaining to their program and services and stuff like that. I think a lot of the questions coming in are program specific, and having these managers participate in these meetings would be ideal. That's pretty much my update for the Hageus report. Looking at other businesses, I don't see any agenda items. No information shared, so looking for somebody to adjourn. Losa and Lori, all in favor? Thank you, everybody. So is there in camera after this? There's some items. So should we take a break for a bit? So that's